All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics are Local. But more importantly, you know if it is the first Friday, it's time for Congressman Payne's show, the late Congressman Payne show. So we're going to open up tonight, and obviously we're going to do the Payne Report. We're going to have Senator Timberlake, Britnee Timberlake, who's going to come on, and along with Eric Payne, the nephew of the congressman. So he'll be joining us as well. So she's going to be up first. And then what's going to happen at 7, Brother Zaid?
At 7 o'clock, Karen Darks, right? The executive director of the Maryland Democratic Party. This young woman happens to be it's my niece, who's been making noise down in Maryland, training women to run for office for years, and has been catapulted into a very pivotal space for the Democratic Party in Maryland. And Maryland is hot. They've got a hot new young governor. There's a sister running for the Senate, and they came back from the Democratic convention. For those of you who go that way, on fire. So I'm looking forward to this conversation with this amazing young woman that I'm very proud of.
Okay. And then at 8 o'clock, we're trying to push on to.
After that, T.J. Whitaker, one of our prize cubs of the Black Panther Party, radical black educator and founder of the MAPSO Freedom School. Tomorrow, he is hosting the book launch for I Am Maroon, the new book on fallen black revolutionary Russell Moroon Shoatz.
Right.
Maroon did 49 years in prison by virtue of his commitment to the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, one of our most feared armed combatants, straight up, right? And led a bold, courageous life that we still lift up and celebrate for as long as we can. So he's the MAPSO Freedom School is hosting a book launch tomorrow in Maplewood. TJ is going to lift that up. Okay. 8 o'clock, we're working on trying to get the great Gwen Carr to join us for her epic gala that she's been doing the last several years in the name of her son, Eric Garner. Right? Eric Garner, I Can't Breathe, right. Staten Island, 10 years in now. His mother has become a real national force for mothers all over this country. And her gala is a way of reestablishing the dignity of these families whose lives have been ripped apart from this trauma. With that, we were trying to get her on. Okay. We hope we can make that connect. So we're looking. That would be really powerful to take this out before we get to Rhino's hip hop update.
Yep. All right. So up first is going to be our sister, of course, the one and only Senator Britnee Timberlake. We're going to welcome her to the show. What's good, sis?
Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here on the show. And I have to tell you, an incredible honor to be here in the name of my good friend, my forever friend, Congressman Donald Payne Jr. I think of him often, every day, and I see, the wonderful Eric Payne has just joined us, and it really is an honor to be thought of to help play a small role in carrying on the legacy of our amazing congressman. Thank you so much, Baba. It's good to see you, and good to see you too, Ed. And yeah, hi, Eric.
Good to see you. Always good to see you, daughter. Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Senator? My brothers. How are you?
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, we made a commitment because one of the things that the congressman was talking about, he wanted to stay focused on this election,
yes.
And we wanted to make sure, and we talked to Eric about it, and of course Eric said yes, to make sure that we continue to do the Payne Report all the way through this election, right? So that we can educate our folks, so that we can inform them about what's going on and so forth in the name of our great brother, Congressman Donald Payne Jr. So having none other than the nephew, but my brother, Eric, man, he brings the thunder in the fire. You get him talking, right? So we appreciate having Eric sit in with us for our brother, the congressman. So welcome to the show. And Eric, I'm speaking for you, but you can speak for yourself, my brother.
No, Ed, Zai, Britnee, how much I appreciate you guys. I just want to say the type of public servant that Britnee is. She's a real public servant. She's the type of person that is in the vein of my family members, who doesn't look for herself. I really didn't know you. I just watched you from afar doing your thing. And the way that you responded during those last weeks of my cousin's life shows that, it ain't about the profile of public service, the raised profile, which sometimes can be mistaken, the celebrity aspect of it, the notoriety aspect of it, that is superficial. It's about the work that you do for the people, but it's also about the family that we're connected, the neighborhood, the community family that we have, from those of us being older, equivalent to older siblings, those of us being equivalent to an older generation, parents. But it's really where we live, right? We're trying to do for our people. We're trying to do better for the neighborhood. And so that's what my uncle and my family members tried to do, because they lived in a community that wasn't being able to enjoy the full rights of an American community. And so all of those people got together way back then in Newark and the surrounding community, and Black people said we need to move seismically in this direction. And, it comes around every so many decades or years, and that we need to unify and move as a team, move as one, Chuck D would say, right? And what concerns me about this election sometimes is hearing people, some of our people, young people, some people that are celebrities that are speaking about Kamala Harris not being this and don't vote, and that age-old thing of that, there are those of us that we work against ourselves. And sometimes when it's time to move and make a move and to really understand the game of America, this life that we're in, you've got to understand how things work in this country. Britnee will tell you how the government works so you can achieve certain things. And so when we put kids in the streets, put people up on game and how to achieve in our society, then we can move forward. But as long as we have people who I'm sure are well-meaning, that have platforms, but they're uninformed, and I'm thinking what comes to mind is this interview with Jermaine Dupri and Roland Martin, where Roland had to correct Jermaine and educate him about a lot of things. And Jermaine said, yeah, now I understand, but that's across the board, not just our community, all communities in the United States. Simple civics don't understand how the government works. And I think that's how, on the other side of the aisle, how many of those people have been misled and mislied to and deceived. And on top of, a lot of them are racist and they want a certain lifestyle in America to continue. And and I think,
so true.
I think personally, it's, as someone, and I'm sure Britnee, you probably would agree, as someone who's a pure public servant, when you see even people that are in the opposition to you, when you see them taking advantage of the people that support them, the people that are truly believers in those philosophies, however crazy those philosophies may be, right? At least they believe. You get a con man that comes along and takes advantage of that belief and then twists it and lead them even further down a crazy path. That's what I think is one of the most despicable things.
It really is. And, Eric, I have an affinity for you and have watched you also for a long time. And I just want to address something before we jump into the election. And it is, regarding your uncle and his work and how he was the real deal. And in his last weeks of passing that you referenced, I wanted to just put it out there and let people know where I was coming from. Congressman Payne, Senior and Junior, some of the most prolific legislators that Washington has ever seen. And myself being a legislator, if anyone has ever listened to me on this show before or even off this show, you know that where it starts and stops for me is policy. Policy and legislation, and then producing for your community. When you're a legislator, you have the power of the pen. You have the power to reverse systemic issues of poverty, systemic issues of oppression, of discrimination. And I believe it is the duty of everyone, particularly those African Americans, Black peoples and minorities, Black and brown peoples, who find ourselves with this pen in our hand. It is our duty to be both a community advocate as well as a elected official and a legislator. Okay, so the reason why it's so important to do that is we have had so many injustices occur in this country in various different systems, and I watched Congressman Payne use the power of the pen so many different times to make a difference. But unfortunately, we are living in a society of clickbait. We're living in a society. Oh, I have an amen choir here, by the way. I'm here with Councilwoman Naima Fauntleroy of East Orange, who is also a very close friend to the Payne family. We were just coming from a union event, and as she was going, and amen, I said, let me introduce my sister here because I have a built-in amen choir right here in the car. But Congressman Payne was using the power of the pen to address systemic issues. And being that we're living in a society that is interested in clickbait and interested in seeing how many likes or views they can get on their website, I was not pleased with the way in which the press was treating his situation of illness during his final weeks, and had reached out to the press and said, hey, while Congressman is healing, because I'm a Christian, you speak life, right? I was saying, Lazarus, get up. While Congressman is healing, can you write a nice piece about him, about his legacy? And it was a little bit later that same press publication, unfortunately, I believe was inappropriate with breaking news regarding his actual state of health and his consciousness. And I stayed up the entire night. My husband was looking at me like, what are you doing? I said, I just have to write this piece. So I wrote the article I wanted to read because I felt as though the Payne family deserved not only that was minimum, but so much more. And wrote an article for Congressman Payne laying out his record, laying out the things that he has done. He and I just recently collaborated. One of our last collaborations, we had a few that we were working on, was to address the issues around fire departments to reduce the likelihood of death of our first responders in response to that port fire of New York, New Jersey. But it's because, the committee that he sat on in infrastructure and transportation, he brought home millions of dollars, and the bipartisan infrastructure bill, I'm going to say it again, bipartisan, for all the policy junkies out there like me, it's very difficult to get things done across the aisle, and Congressman Payne did. Most of my bills, even the social justice ones, end up being bipartisan. It's important to work across the aisle, but he was one of the prime authors of that bipartisan infrastructure bill and started actually writing it first. And as a result of that, we have seen close to over 100 million in New Jersey for our train stations alone. And if you ride up and down these highways and byways, you will see as they're being repaired, it will be like courtesy of or by way of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. The impact our congressman had was indelible. And it was important to share that with the world. And it's still important because as people, we say we stand on the shoulders of giants. And if we really mean that, then we must also understand and recant the history of those giants, as well as understanding the road and that they've paved for us to go down. These are not just, things that we should be saying to sound good. This is not word soup. This is very real. This man lived, this man served, and he did so, and he died with his boots on. And I will forever honor his legacy. And I'm incredibly grateful and indebted to the Payne family. He was a very good friend of mine. And I just really wanted to say that because this is his Payne Report. It's
Britnee,
not the Britney Timberlake report.
But that tribute and that acknowledgement and that criticism of the press, this is a press entity, was on point. And I encourage you from your platform, whether you, I don't know if you published your statement of concern to the press, and I'll name New Jersey Globe, right? I was disgusted with how they treated his illness, right? And how they tend to treat our Black elected officials in general, right? They can just do better, but that's part of the fight. Everybody ain't on our side, right? And we have to, make those who are not on our side respect our work and respect our position, right? And respect our community's position.
That's right. And you know what, Baba? The interesting thing too is that, or the sad thing I should say, is that what ended up happening was then the conservative press picked up that story and began to do their partisan politics while this man, our giant, our hero, was fighting for his life. You know what? We're elected officials. We're human beings. Okay, we have families. We have people who love us, people who care about us, people, not in the community, but in our own household. And the Payne family have sacrificed so much in their father, in their uncle, in their grandfather, and then also in Choppy himself, who unfortunately didn't get to make the title of grandfather, but had all the other ones. I'm just, I just love the family, and I love his work. He's done so much, so we could spend the entire time talking about his work, and that'd make me happy. I can tell you that I do know that he'd be so excited about Kamala Harris, and we do have to vote. And he would also be excited about, just educating people about who she is, because he's worked with her. Congressman Payne Jr. worked with her in the legislature, with her in the Senate, and him in the Congress. So, it's very important. And I will address this too, because as we talk about other people and their racism, we have to talk about the things that have been embedded within us from slavery. And as a woman whose mother is white and my father is African American, I mainly identify as an African American woman while also recognizing the heritage of my mother. This whole thing about Kamala's race, to me, is just ignorance. And it really does stem from slavery, and really from Jim Crow too. Plus you be Ferguson, and if you have one drop of black blood, makes you black. Look, there's a lot of mixed race people that have done a wonderful thing for black peoples and to the movement of black progression and liberation. Bob Marley is one. Bob Marley's father was white. And if you ask me, you don't get any more power to the people than Bob Marley himself. And his mother, as you know, was Jamaican. So, we have got to stop looking for divisions amongst ourselves as black people. I'm embracing Kamala Harris. I like what she's done and the career that she's built. And we have got to get out there and vote for her, because our democracy depends on it. Now, Congressman Payne also was a believer in democracy. That's our form of government. And right now you have Donald Trump, who was talking about changing that form of government. Well, I'm the daughter of a soldier, not just a soldier, but an Army Sergeant First Class who jumped out of airplanes into war in the 82nd Airborne. He led troops across the desert.
That's top soldier.
Yeah, that's right. Top. He led troops across the desert when Saddam Hussein lit the oil fields on fire in Desert Storm. Saddam Hussein is a dictator. He stood at the Berlin Wall and was in Germany, which is, where I was born, fighting the ideology of Stalin as well as Hitler, the remnants of that ideology right before the Berlin Wall was actually taken down. Okay, and then went to Korea and stood on the border of North and South to protect South Korea from North Korea and their dictatorship. Do we understand what dictatorship is? It's not even funny when Donald Trump says, "Oh, I'll be a dictator for one day." What? Congressman Payne would not have been in support of that, and no American should. Black, white, Muslim, Christian, atheist, no one should. Americans should be in support of that at all. Because what we're talking about is no longer a free society. A society, dictators disappear people like myself, like Eric Payne, like the people who are producing this All Politics Are Local. We got to understand and really know our history, because if we don't know our history, then we fall susceptible of repeating it. And I'm not willing to do that. And I know Congressman Payne would not have been either.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's right on 100% all the way around. And I broke bread with your father. Now, raised military, 82nd Airborne is top flight, U.S. Army. So you got on to your dad, right? I had a dad, bred with him. And in fact, it was a wonderful gathering. Because let's lift up somebody else, some other shoulders that you stand on for a minute, and pivot to the broader electoral landscape, right? We were at a fundraiser for the late great Sheila Oliver. I don't know if you remember that. We got a local fundraiser. Forget the name of the spot. It was an Italian spot, and your dad and I was sharing a table, and I really had a good time talking to him, because I'm a father of daughters too, right? And and then a soldier of many kinds. So we had a really appreciate your father when you're lifting him up. But we've had some losses. We mentioned we're here in Congressman Payne's space. Right, we were together at that particular space for the late great Sheila Oliver. Right, you have lifted up her banner royally. I know you probably want. I don't think you've been on since we've lost Miss Oliver. Right, so what do you say to remind our younger voters of the important legacy of the late great Sheila Oliver?
I think only recently gotten to the point where I can really talk about her and her legacy without tears flowing from my eyes. But if they do start, then please forgive me. Sheila Oliver and her legacy, and Congressman Payne spoke at her funeral about one or two speakers before me. And it's so surreal to just think about how they're both no longer here with us. But this is a Black woman, right? So we know how hard it is to be Black peoples. Now imagine being a Black woman where women are discriminated upon too. So it's another class that is discriminated upon, and another minority group, right? And minority in the space of high places. And women are minorities at those board meetings for corporations. We are a minority sitting around the table as elected officials, sitting with governors and these things. So for Sheila Oliver, she has broken through several layers. I think there's layers of glass ceilings, not just one glass ceiling. But seeing her walk into rooms, I remember the first time I met her. It was in my early 20s, and she was one of the very first people to support the Essex Community Land Trust, which is permanent affordable home ownership opportunities for low to moderate income people, and the only operating community land trust in the state for the purposes of affordable housing. And she was the first person to support that organization that I co-founded with Harold Simon. I was in my early 20s, and just seeing her, and talk about there being a reflection and how representation matters. I really do believe that, because it matters so much for me to see her move through rooms and to speak as boldly and proclaim the things that were for the people. And what I grew to know about her, especially when I entered the elected space with her, is that she meant it. And then not only did she mean it, but she acted on it. And she would take stances on the floor that were unpopular. She would go against the grain, even if it was against the party. And she would do all of these things because she knew that it was the right thing to do, and she would encourage me to do the same. So if anyone ever wants to know who put the battery in my back politically, originally it starts with my parents, but politically it was Sheila Oliver, because she showed that there were no boundaries for where we ought to stay within, no lines that we should be coloring in, that we can color however it is that we'd like to, and that our voice mattered and it was needed. And then we also had Senator Ron Rice. I mean, what an amazing...
Girl's gonna raise it. Right on. Come on, baby, keep going.
Yeah, and thank you, Baba. What an amazing opportunity to have met all of these people and served with them. I mean, just the institutional knowledge that they had, the street knowledge that they had, and the fight that existed within them. And it's so sad, because they symbolize social justice and they symbolize fearless leadership. And there is a lack of that now. And I'm trying my best to not drop this baton that has been passed. And I promise to pass the baton to someone else who I believe will not drop it when it's my time to go, because everybody has that time where we take that one-way trip. by ourselves. But, it's been hard, and it's been unfortunate, and it's been sad, because these are the people that we're talking about. Congressman Payne, we'll say 4 people: Congressman Payne Sr., Jr., Oliver, as well as Rice, were the real deal, and they're no longer with us. So how do you know the real deal from someone who's not? Look up their voting record, look up the legislation they introduced, and read more than just the headline. Because, they'll say that this is the putting people back to work bill, and then it will talk about, union busting. So please read past the headline. Let's go, people. We need to be woke. Wake up. Woke shouldn't be a bad term. We hear. I mean, Rip Van Winkle was spoken about by Dr. King in his last speech, his last Sunday sermon before his assassination, and the whole premise was, do not sleep through a revolution. So come on, people, wake up, don't sleep through a revolution, do some reading, do some research, don't just look at the palm card that arrived in your mail, do some research, and then vote for those candidates. But I sorely miss all of those amazing legislators, and I didn't get a chance to work with Congressman Payne Sr., but I see the labor, the fruit of his labor, particularly as it related to the diaspora, and how he kept a lot of peace in Africa, the continent, and the several different countries that would call him in to help negotiate peace and to keep infighting and these things from occurring. So just, these are the shoulders we stand on.
Well, listen, Britnee, I know that you only had 20 minutes you could give us, so we don't want to, impede your time.
Oh, really? I didn't know, because I'm getting ready to dig in.
It's okay. It's all right, Baba. Go ahead. I have time. It's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I saw Eric look like he wanted to say something.
I was going to say, I reminded my uncle one of the times that he was telling me about the conflicts in Africa. We were just talking about just getting people to coexist. The concept of just getting people to coexist, and that's mutually beneficial for us to live in peace than to die at war. And it's such a simple concept, it really boils it down. How we relate to each other in the world that we find ourselves in. Can we at least coexist? Can we at least agree to each other's right to coexist and to live and to live free? And in a democracy, that's what we agree to. Those are the life principles that we all come to the conclusion and come to the agreement to live by. Growing up, Don Chop was my first cousin, like my brother. So it's different than when you lose a parent or someone on that level, because you're kind of day one person. You guys know what it is to the person that you start life with, and you look at things before you and wonder, are we going to have to, or are we going to fill in these footsteps? And growing up in the community we grew up in, it's like, for me, being kind of a political nerd too, and when people start talking about, I grew up in a community of a Sheila Oliver that was on the block with my uncle, who happened to be on that plane, and around the corner
awesome. Yes,
was Willie Brown, and over here was Mama Baraka, Mary Baraka. And just growing up in a community, like, it's a who's who of revolutionaries and people that were doing good. Pearl Beatty, Queen James, and Donald Tucker, and all of these people that when we were boys coming up in the community, people that took the responsibility for our community, and to hear my father and those guys reference the battles they fought against Adonisio and Imperiale in those times, and trying to get, the first black mayor, and all of these progressions, and the times my uncle ran against Rodino, to be able to experience that and to grow up in that environment, all of us, how can you not at least a little bit put back into the community? And I didn't get to say it at the funeral, but for me and Chop, it was as if we knew one day that might be something that we would be involved in some sort of public service. And as my uncle became more prominent in the elected office, it became more of a reality. And I remember pushing Chop to do that, but he didn't want to do it until he was ready. And being ready to us is a little bit different than being ready to other people. You know, I guess if it was different to us, then I would have ran just based on name recognition. But, you know, it's the thing about being ready and being prepared to do that service, a public service, which is something that we don't mess around with in terms of the way we look at it, because your people send you there. My people send me to this place. We send Britnee to Trenton to do work for us. We entrust her with that. They entrusted my uncle, my cousin, my father, my other cousin with their votes. So when you get that trust, I'm on a mission from God. I'm on a mission from the people. So for me, if and when I make a move like that, I'm not playing. And Ed, you know how, you know, when I start talking here, I'm a little bit different, a little bit of my father's son, and a little bit more extreme about things. And also one who is coming up in a community that was raised by Payne, but also a community that was influenced by a Baraka. You know, when you're a little bit younger, you're a little bit quicker, ready to rumble, right? And you say the nonviolence is cool, but what Malcolm is also saying is pretty cool, that if somebody puts their hands on you, make sure they put it on somebody else again. So, you know, I don't know, the rock and roll thing to me always wasn't the best thing for elected office until, you know, you get the orange man coming in talking all the trash you talk. I was like, okay, maybe you can come in talking some trash on the good side, like Muhammad Ali or somebody did. You know, I'm talking good trash. I'm looking to get in good trouble, like John Lewis said. So smack this guy in the mouth, Joe Biden, let's get it on. You know what I mean? And now it's Kamala that's going to cut him up. So, you know, that's just the environment I think that we grew up in. And that's the pledge that we have. And I think it's also that the pledge that we make to each other. You know, we know what it is. When I see Britnee, when I see you serving the public, I know what it is that you're going through, right? I mean, I know that we're people, like you said, families. But this is also, people don't understand, it's a 24-hour endeavor when you want to serve the public, because you might be out shopping somewhere for those two young warriors that you have, Britnee, and someone will come up to you and want to talk about some issue, some political issue, or some issue that has to deal with your public service, and you have to engage them. So a lot of people don't understand that it is 24 hours, sir. It ain't no joke serving the public and being, like the old people say, being a race person.
Yeah, it's not, and especially for people who are serious about this work and want to do the right thing by people, it's not lost on me too, you know, the dedication and the sacrifice and the extraction of the resources from the human body that occurs during this. And what do I mean when I say that? It's really not lost on me that both, you know, Congressman Sr. as well as Congressman Jr. died in office. You know, it is a lot of work, and it is sometimes lonely work, and heavy is the head that wears the crown. So I just you know, I appreciate you, Eric, and you know, everything that you just said. And you know, hopefully people will change their behaviors and become a in that regard.
You muted, sir. Yes, I was trying to catch that and then put it in the chat as we were saying at the same time. Let's now, we are claiming our roots. We are placing ourselves on the shoulders that we stand on. Right now, we have this particular historical moment. The main event is the talk of the town is the main event between Harris and Trump. But then we've got these other battlegrounds that we need to talk about. We've got a lot of shifting pieces on the congressional front, right? Looks like Andy Kim is going to be our next senator, right? We've got shifting. We're hoping LaMonica McIver will be our next congressperson to come in Congressman Payne Jr.'s shoes and whatnot. And there are other shifts. There's a lot of shifts in the state, right? In terms of, and we need to pay attention to those shifts, particularly where we can move from someone else having a control of a particular landscape, i.e. the Congress or the Senate, so we can get some other things done. If Sister Love can actually make that move and outbox Mr. Trump, which I'm sure she can do. What point to some of the things that we need to be looking at on the congressional landscape, locally and in other places where there are important elections coming up. But right behind us, we have the executive director for the Maryland Democratic Party coming on. And they have a fabulous young governor, and they've got a sister, making a big push for the Senate. Right, there are battlegrounds all over the place, and there are there's a lot of energy of a retrograde or a backwards or a very unprogressive kind that is trying to, take the landscape, right? And so for us to really be clear on the bigger picture, right? If you don't mind me using my Panther language, lift up what you want to lift up. You think it's important for our voting base to be paying attention to in the congressional landscape coming up?
Yeah, so there's so many things to pay attention to. We talk about a woman's right to choose. That's something that is dear to my heart. I often say I don't promote abortion. I don't know what abortion rights are. It's always a bit of a bizarre term when I hear that, but I do know what women's rights are. And I do know that a woman ought to have autonomy over her own body and to make decisions safely in a hospital or a doctor's office with a qualified medical professional. It is very important to make sure that people make decisions over their own body in every gender. But as women, our grandmothers already fought for this right. And it's something that we're constantly having to relitigate as a society, and that really disturbs me. I think that if there's any men out there who don't really understand how bizarre it is to hear our rights debated on the floor, imagine if we started debating the rights of whether or not men should be able to have vasectomies, or whether or not insurance should pay for Viagra. Okay, does that make you feel uncomfortable if you're a man? Imagine being a woman, because we're constantly hearing about birth control and is insurance going to pay for it, and the banning of having choosing to have an abortion should you desire. And the majority of women are not using abortion as birth control. These are very private decisions in the doctor's office, and sometimes life threatening and life saving decisions.
That's right. Come on.
Yeah, and we need to have that autonomy. You have doctors that are afraid to save the life of a woman, and women are dying because of the state that they live in, and that they got impregnated, and maybe the pregnancy wasn't going to be viable. But to have a legislature stand up and to say what should and should not happen is absolutely inappropriate, and it's bizarre. But while the legislature is standing up, we need to make sure that it's standing up to make sure that a woman has the right to choose in all aspects of her life. By the way, I don't use that term women's rights to choose only as it relates to fertility and things. True feminism is believing that a woman has the right to choose in all aspects of her life. How much money she wants to make, does she want to be married or not, does she want kids or not, in every single aspect, what she wants to wear, how she wants to be, look, act. That's a true woman's to choose. Autonomy in every single aspect. And women, we need our full and total freedom, and right now we don't have it. So I do believe that's one of the major congressional issues. But then you also have climate deniers, and as a Christian woman, it bothers me that the evangelical movement is really pushing this rhetoric, because I don't understand. I believe in the Word of God. I believe in the Bible, and and if you do, then that Adam's first job was to take care of the land. Adam's first job was to take care of the land and the animals, take care of the planet. So to see the effects of climate change on our earth and then to deny it and politicize it is just pure ignorance. To not believe in science is just pure ignorance. And climate is an existential threat We're not talking about, well, save the planet. I think that's a little misleading messaging. We're talking about save the human race, because the planet will regenerate itself. Okay, we have to do things to take care of the planet so that the weather doesn't get so bad that we are the ones that do not survive. So, there's all these major things that are just facing us. We have AI, which I believe deeply needs to be regulated and taxed based off of use for companies, because we can see mass amounts of unemployment coming with AI on the rise. It's not anything that we shouldn't be afraid to use AI. Technology is good, yes, but we need to make sure that it's used in a proper way, and that we are accounting for the job loss that will occur by doing training for technology, creating new jobs, evolving with the technology as a workforce, but then also preparing. I think that in the future, things such as universal income aren't going to be known as a progressive concept. I think it's going to be very normalized and understood because of AI and technology. But I'll defer to Mr. Eric Payne on that one, and I'll also hop in about 2 minutes.
The universal income with AIs, I'm not familiar with that phrase. Are you speaking as it references the entertainment industry and people not being compensated for the use of their image?
Oh, no, sir. I was talking about issues that you see happening in Congress. But what I was saying, but thank you for that question, because if you had it, that means other listeners may have had it too. What I'm talking about is AI is going to inevitably replace workers,
Absolutely. Yeah.
which means that unemployment is going to increase, which means that the government needs to be ready for that. How can the government be ready for that? One is by preparing people to enter the workforce in the fields of technology. So to evolve the workforce with the way in which technology is evolving. And then two, I believe that we should be taxing companies that are using, sometimes you have companies that are using 100% AI, and it might be for a product, but the product, they're not selling it for any less. Sure, they're paying for the technology, but they're not paying for the workers. It's not an ongoing payment. So, I think that there should be a real deep dive into that. That's what I was explaining regarding AI. I'm explaining 3 major issues that I think are facing Congress right now: AI, climate change, women's rights, and there's so many other things. The other thing is in Congress, we have, and it's really not just in Congress, with our country. I'm very concerned about our Supreme Court. We have Justice Alito's wife flying the flag upside down, which is a sign and a nod to the insurrectionists that try to lead the coup d'etat on our country, January 6th. And they try to overthrow our country. And you have a Supreme Court justice who was flying the flag in their honor. You have Donald Trump, who's saying that he's going to pardon the January 6th insurrectionists. It is insane. And then you have Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is an interesting one, right? Like he's like Uncle Ruckus, if you ever watched the Boondocks. Clarence Thomas is taking shots at Brown versus Board of Education, which gave us the ability to integrate in our school system. He's already taken shots in
the Yale by virtue of Brown versus Board of Education.
Now he used it, right?
Somebody needs to remind us behind of that.
That's one of my issues.
So when we talk about what is facing Congress, we need to talk about term limits. We also need to talk about term limits. I actually believe in term limits at every level of government, but we'll save that for another discussion. But certainly the Supreme Court, what we're seeing is an abuse of power. And we're seeing, their support for not democracy. They want to take us back. They want to desegregate our schools. Remember the shots that have been taken at our brothers and sisters in the Divine Nine in Florida, trying to make it illegal to join, be a Delta Sigma, AKA, and we better wake up. And I'll leave with this: wake up and remain awake during the Great Revolution. And if you ever want to read that, that's what the name of the speech, Dr. King, Remaining Awake During a Great Revolution, his last Sunday sermon. And I see that it seems as if, unfortunately, history could potentially repeat itself if we don't get out and vote. But God bless you all, and thank you for thinking of me for the Payne Report.
Thank you, Britnee. Senator.
Proud of you, daughter. Keep doing what you're doing. The mic is open for you here. Self-publish your statement. When you talked about it, drafted up about the press, you got your own platforms. Self-publish that, right?
I did. I sure did. I sure did. And the family, I'm glad that the family liked it because I wrote it for you. So.
I'll reach out to you on another at another time. I'm getting ready to make a move in a building that I'm sure you've been in, but a great big building of a whole lot of folks that would love to talk to you.
Yeah, let me know.
In our district, okay?
God bless you all, okay? Take care. Good to see you.
Right on.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I was going to say, that was one of my issues with the Supreme Court, and just understanding the appointment of judgeships and why we need to have the majority in both houses of the Congress, because we can have those approvals and confirmations of the right type of judges that move up that appellate ladder, and also work against this exact thing of having this kind of rogue Supreme Court that's just kind of doing whatever they want to do and very ideological. I suppose the concept was, an appointment for life, so someone doesn't feel beholden to the person who put them there, and they can freely make the decisions they need to make. But if you live in a system, in a society that has one belief system, talking about the earlier Supreme Courts where they were living in a Jim Crow society or a racist slave-holding society, if you have individuals that come from that environment, why would we think that when they get in a position of judgment that they would somehow get enlightened if they've taken part of a society and a societal system that perpetuates slavery, racism, misogyny, and those things? Why would we expect that type of individual who's been living and believing and that lived that philosophy their whole life to change their perspective once they get out in the court, like the Supreme Court? Alito's gonna be Samuel Alito. That's what he was gonna be.
That's right.
Too, right? This stuff ain't foreign stuff.
Right.
Alito's right here in Jersey.
Yep, exactly. So, and we know how he's been for a long time. So, that's why we need to get out and vote, so we can put our people in, so our people can make the necessary votes to confirm the judges that are going to be a lot more fair and take into account everybody else's perspective and not just the perspective of a small segment, small demographic of our society.
Right. It's got to be about, us once and for all thinking about our own interests, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of thinking about everyone else's interests.
Sure.
And we've done that as a people, but we've got to now, I know we like to say, we're not monolithic, right? I know we like to say that. But I think that, once and for all, Black folk need to unify based around what's good for us, right? And we need to vote like that. Me and Zaid talk about a Black United Front all the time, right? We need to have a Black United Front based around those things that are important to us, to our families, and to our community, right? I mean, because I was having this conversation, Zaid and Brother Eric, I was having this conversation. I can't think anywhere in my lifetime, and I'm 62, right? So I can't think nowhere in my lifetime where I know a Black father gifted his 13-year-old son with an AR-15. I don't know any father that's done that. Do you guys?
I
don't, but I see the mentality of these individuals.
After the boy had already been investigated for having some issues about his behavior with those guns.
Right.
But see, their mentality about life is they train them, with hunting rifles and stuff like that. But also, it's a further mentality to me. To me, it's not just I'm gonna train them because we're out woods, hunt, fish, our way of life. I think at this point now, a lot of these individuals are into the political nature of, I need to have my weapon because in case they come get me, we need to be able to be a militia in case they try to change our way of life or threaten our way of life, i.e. black president
Eric,
or whatever.
Eric, you were talking about the psychology of settler colonialism.
You know?
Right?
And so
that's what we're looking at. Exactly right. Go ahead.
And so them growing up and gifting their kid with a gun at 13, yeah, because we're out in the wilderness and we got to do for ourselves. And that exactly like I said, the settler mentality, like they still have to win the West and conquer the elements against the animals and the heathens and all the other that might come for us, because our manifest destiny says that I'm supposed to rule over all of this, everything before me, and everything here is here for me. You know,
that's the underpinning, you know, tragically speaking, and I hope it doesn't cost Sister Love the election. You know, this whole thing with Gaza too. We're looking at Israel's manifest destiny right in our face, right? And there's an ideological, you know, alignment with the U.S. of, you know, supplying all of that weaponry and letting that go down when they can actually have they're the only force in the world that can actually make it stop.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation. We'll say that one for another time, but it's there. It's absolutely there. And we should lift that up. I mean, we had that school killing in Georgia, right? Children, teachers alike were killed. One of those children was a black child. You know, we should lift that up. You know, that definitely should be something we should be talking about. Why can't we, well into the first quarter of the 21st century, at this late date, still not have a sane conversation about safe and responsible gun ownership? Why can't we do that?
Because that means you got to limit those guns for those people who want to have them. So when the next J6, we contemplate another J6 popping off, we want to be able to have our weapons. That's why some individuals didn't go through the metal detector that day. Individuals, if you listen to the audio from the Capitol Police, where they were identifying individuals who they could clearly identify that were carrying weapons, because some individuals came with ill intent and bad intentions, as Mike Tyson used to say. So, you know, that's why the whole gun issue perpetuates itself, right? They're not going to give up their rights to get all these guns in case they need to take America back, in case they need to try to do exactly what they did at January 6th when they get the siren call from everybody while Trump was telling people, come to D.C., it's going to be wild, it's going to be wild. What else do we know that he was planning on doing that day?
Right.
Definitely planning on making a move like that. Tell them to come, it's going to be wild, and you're encouraging the same type of individuals who are talking about when can we take out the guns and start killing people. I'm sure you've seen that clip of one dude at a school board meeting or a council meeting was upset, and when can we start killing these people? What? Why? Just the fact that that's where they automatically go. Right?
People think like that.
Just shoot them. Just shoot them.
Yeah.
That mentality, that is a baseline, foundational life perspective. It's like, wow, you guys really buy into this. Your people came over to this country and had to settle it and settle and tame all the wild animals and the wild natives that here we developed. It's like, come on.
Therefore, I gotta ask you this. I'm talking to Eric the actor now. Have fun with me for a minute. There's a flick out called the oh God, let me make sure I got the title right. The Amazing Society of Magical Negroes.
Really? Wow.
I'm telling you, it's a
did we not talk about that once? I talked about that on another podcast. My boy does like a lot of movies.
That's for real?
Built on the premise of black folks doing everything they can to make white folks happy, because white folks are the most dangerous thing on earth.
The whole vibe, man. It was really, it's like, wow, who okayed that? Who okayed that? You know. Hey, Eric, didn't you do a show like that? Didn't y'all do a movie back in the day like that, a satire? We did Drop Squad, where we come snatch up. Drop Squad, we would snatch up the nigga. We would snatch up the nigga that made that movie. we would have got the dude that wrote that movie in the Drop Squad. So
yeah.
Unbelievable. I couldn't believe. I guess they all needed to work because the fact that he
And
was
a lot of people went that flick too. It's an ensemble flick.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. There was some names in there. Some people I'm like, wow, man, okay. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do for work. Listen, I did a movie called The Return of Superfly, so that's sometimes you do the bad ones, the ones that I wasn't really uplifting the race at that time.
Yeah. But listen, man, I think that, as we talk, like I said, man, I was having this conversation with these brothers, man, and it was a real conversation. We were talking, about, there's a certain segment of white folks in this country that are not only arming their children, but they're arming themselves.
Oh yeah.
And they plan on doing some serious harm, if Trump is not elected, right? And the fact is that we're not really having that conversation, right? But they are. And what we saw a troubled young white child go into the school and kill 2 teachers and 2 children, right? Mm-hmm. And think about the type of weapon that he had, right? He had an assault rifle. I mean, the kind of damage that this child could have done inside that school, right? And how many children and adults he could have killed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they took him alive too, by the way.
Huh?
They took him alive too, by the way.
Right. Yeah. And I'm saying, think about that.
Whole lot to unpack in that story.
Right. And so I think for us, we have to, I know we don't like, having certain conversations because we want to act like we in love with everybody and everybody's in love with us, but everybody's not. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, Donald Trump is setting his people up that way because the language he's using, Eric and Zaid, he's saying, if I don't win,
that's right.
If you don't make me the president,
in this scenario,
be a bloodbath.
That's right.
Use those words.
Right. He's setting them up.
Yeah.
So you speaking to people like that child, like that 14-year-old kid who's listening to you. He hearing that, right? Mm-hmm. Like that white boy who went into the supermarket up in Buffalo and killed all those black folks, right?
Oh,
that's what he's talking to.
That's exactly
right. Somebody coming into Newark, right, and walking into someplace in the South Ward and just lighting it up.
Yep,
right?
That's exactly what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
And then step back and say, well, it's a loony. We didn't have anything to do with them. We can't help, people are stir the pot and then act like you didn't do nothing.
That's right.
So I mean, that's what they do. That's what that individual does. That's what Trump does, That's what they do in general.
And to your earlier point, Eric, that's why they stacked the Supreme Court with who they stacked it with.
Exactly.
Clear.
I mean, the whole connection of this whole plan, man. I mean, let them continue to get guns. We'll stack the court. We want it the way we want to stack it. We'll give these cops qualified immunity where they can go from police force to police force when they get fired. And as a result, this savage just shoots the sister in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the whole system. And I've said that also too, Ed. We do need to act as a monolith. There are times, that's what I was saying. This is a time in history where the shift, the seismic shift of our efforts can be moved dramatically forward. Or backwards, several steps, right? It can be greatly moved forward or backward if we're not smart. And this is like, when you look at how it went down, this is like, we up against the wall right here because, they want to take it back to the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
In Arizona, they used a law that was 100 years old in terms of their abortion ban. 100 years, 100, what? So if they're willing to do that, then what does that mean about our rights as Black people?
Oh, without a doubt.
To go back and use 100-year-old, And the reason I get so fired up because I'm thinking about those Negroes who want to vote Republican. It's like, yo, you see what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now, I understand you might be the one talking about we sick, boss.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be that one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so if you're that one right now, then we're going to have to start dealing like Sister Harriet Tubman would deal with those ones that was getting ready to tell which way we went. Yeah. Because we're not going out like that. We're not going out letting people like Byron Donalds and those other dudes sit up there with their cigars and go to spots in Atlanta and drinking cognac and acting. I couldn't, just the whole visual of that image, trying to talk to black people about voting Republican. They sitting smoking cigars and this one cat, another time, Byron Donalds talk about, you see, during Jim Crow, black folk, what? Why is that the reference point that you're starting from, money? During Jim Crow, why are those words in your mouth? Why are you thinking from that perspective? That shows me right there who you are. Yeah. No, I'm rethinking voting for that brother. I hope the people that elected him there are really rethinking.
But Eric, I'm telling you, that's a real problem amongst some of our people, brother. You know what I mean? Where you have some cats. I think I was having this conversation, with Bashir and some other brothers. I mean, I know you all know that the Republicans are right now going all over the country, and they're fighting in court in order to put Cornel West on the ballot, right? A strategic move, right? Because what they want to do is they want to try and split the ballot, right?
Of course.
So they're going around in all of the battleground states, and they know that
he's on 45 states already.
Yeah, and they're spending millions of dollars, right, in legal costs to put him on the ballot. And don't get me wrong, I saw what Malik Zulu Shabazz posted when he said that, the goal is to try to force them to have a sit down with Kamala in order to put some of the policies forward. I get that, right? But the question is, we have to ask ourselves, is this the time to do that, right? Is this the time? Or do we have to think strategically and try to vote what's good for us? Or do we just tell all those brothers and sisters to say, well, go ahead and vote. You're not going to vote for Kamala Harris, and you don't really want to vote for Donald Trump. Go vote for Cornel West. And the Republicans are saying, yeah, go do that because we got enough votes in this particular state to win. We just need y'all not to go vote for Kamala. That's all.
They're always, that's why they're diabolical in the way they approach stuff, because they're always like, we need to be working on every angle. They're finding every angle to work, right? The violent angle doesn't work. The discouraging people, intimidating people from the polls doesn't work. We got the lawsuits happening here. That's always been their playbook. The thing to me is that Cornel West always seems to surface, Agent West, I'm calling him, always seems to surface when a Democrat has a chance of making some real progress somewhere in an election, usually presidential, and he'll definitely surface if one of those Democrats happens to be black. And I don't understand it. I understand trying to force a conversation, but like you said, Ed, is this really the best time? Because the other side always stays unified to get to this point. They get the power. First, you get the power. Right. Then you make the moves. And this is what I'm saying about to all of them. It's like, yo, and maybe you guys are Cornel West, you're in a position where maybe a Trump presidency. I'm talking about all of our people that rely on government programs that the government really services, like on that, that's in their lives. Either you're waiting on checks, disability checks, unemployment checks, some sort of check, some sort of assistance from the government that people are entitled to that will be upended and disrupted when certain things happen. And if the majority of those people that receive those benefits are people that happen to look like us, my question to those individuals that always want to force a conversation and give someone who would stop all of those benefits, would not have a sympathetic ear to all of those issues. Why would you risk putting that person in charge to get your point across right now?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure some of you individuals, that probably affects your direct family members. There's probably some family members in your family tree that will be greatly affected should the other side get in and say, you know what, we're going to cancel Medicaid.
Yeah.
Or what? We're going to do away with the $35 insulin cost.
Yeah.
Let it jacked up back. Let's get Farmer Bro back in here and let him charge $1,000 for an insulin shot.
Yeah.
Because that's the context we're living in. When these people want to do moves, when they want to do those kind of moves, that's what we're risking now. So Cornell, maybe Cornell, you got enough money to pay for insulin if it goes up to $150 a pop. But I know there's some people in your family that sure could use that assistance. Yeah. Some people that you care about, that you claim to want to represent and educate, that could use that. And I'm not saying that to use that to or whatever. All I'm saying is, like, yo, let's play smart with this. Let's play smart, y'all. Yeah. You know?
That's, Eric, that's exactly where I'm at right now, and Zaid, we had his running mate on the show. So, those are our people, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying at this particular point, we have to be careful that the brother and sister don't get played as pawns in order to play the game and our demise in this society at this point. And we pro-black just like they are. You know what I'm saying?
Get ready for our next guest, because she'll definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Eric, we want to thank you, my brother. We appreciate you coming through. You know what I mean? And doing the Payne Report. We appreciate it, man. We're gonna keep lifting up, our beloved brother, and and keep trying to beat this drum, man, to make sure our people, get out and vote in November, man, and we can push, this devil Donald Trump back, man. So appreciate you, brother Eric, for coming through, man.
My brother Ed, Zaid, my brothers, thanks for having me again, allowing me to pull my current footsteps.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Take care.
All right, brother. Peace, man.
His mama dogs right on her perch, waiting to see her child come on the show. See, I see it, sis. She's trying to get on. She's having trouble with her camera. She's trying to get on. That's Karen. That's Karen Darks, and I'll wait till she gets on to introduce her properly. But we've had Karen's sister Crystal on several times, and both of them are stalwart NAACP state conference children and leaders in the New Jersey State NAACP conference. Karen, you having trouble with your getting on?
Seems to be. It says that the camera's off. All right. Oh, there we go.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Welcome. And I'm proud to introduce to you the executive director of the Maryland Democratic Party. Maryland has always been an important battleground state on all things electoral and military in this country, unfortunately, right? And a lot is happening on that particular front. And she's fresh from leading the Maryland delegation to the National Convention in Chicago, and it's got some amazing stories about some amazing folks coming through Maryland that we need to talk about. Karen, welcome to All Politics Are Local. I know this is your first time on. Your mom and your sister already in the cut, ready for watching you from their respective perches. Right? We have it on blast. We just had, I don't know if you had a chance to hear, we have a local state senator, Britnee Timberlake, was on with us in what has been our Payne Report, our session that was formerly the space for the late Congressman Payne Jr. But this is, this show is every bit the title that it bespeaks. It is All Politics Are Local, and even while we're getting ready to have a national conversation, Maryland is relatively local. It is within our regional landscape. So I just thought it would be a great time to have you on to talk about what's happening on the Maryland landscape and what it means for the broader electoral landscape for our community in general and for your community in Maryland in particular. So step back, right? Step back. Tell us about what's happening in Maryland. You got a sharp young governor that supports a lot of the stuff that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, trying to keep people alive on the streets of Newark, right? We got somebody running for office against the former governor. That's some stuff in the mix, right? You carrying quite a bit. How does tell us what's happening on the Maryland front, and then let's unpack that and step back and talk about your own story and how Karen Darks comes to be in the place that you be, wearing the shoes that you wear and bearing the weight that you bear on your shoulders.
Well, thank you for having me, Uncle Zaid. Thank you for having me. So yes, I'm the executive director of the Maryland Democratic Party, but I am a Jersey girl. I'm a South Jersey girl, and I'm repping the Eagles today. I know I'm with a bunch of North Jersey, Newark people, but I'm repping
the Eagles ain't Jersey
today. But I just wanted to say, so yeah, I'm the executive director of the Maryland Democratic Party, and I've been the executive director since the end of March. I took on this role a couple of weeks after former Governor Larry Hogan jumped into our Senate race. We had a very competitive primary in Maryland, as we always do. Maryland is a very blue state, and we have a lot of Democratic elected officials and a lot of Black elected officials. We can boast that. Maryland has the highest population of African Americans outside of the Deep South, and we represent well in our electorate and in our elected officials, especially on the Democratic side here in Maryland. And we have the opportunity on November 5th, to elect the first African-American senator and African-American woman senator from the state of Maryland, in Angela Alsobrooks. So that is the top race in Maryland right now. And it is a very, very tight race because our former governor, Republican Larry Hogan, is also in this race, as I mentioned. And he was a popular governor, served 2 terms as governor. And I started my career in 2014 when he ran for governor, when we were trying to elect the first Black governor in 2014. We were not successful because Larry Hogan beat us. And then he beat former NAACP President Ben Jealous for re-election in 2018, and now he's on the ballot for Senate. And we just cannot take anything for granted. Our messaging that we are loud and proud about is that many people liked Larry Hogan or feel like they like Larry Hogan as governor, but he is not running for governor. He is running for the United States Senate, and he would be the 51st vote for the Republicans in the Senate. Period.
Now let's stop there for a second, because nuance matters in these conversations too, right? Larry Hogan is not Donald Trump, but he does represent something other than what Angela and Governor Moore represent, right?
Right. He has been doing a lot to try to paint himself as
is Mr. Logan. What kind of Republican is he, and how dangerous is he as such?
Similarly to his friend Chris Christie, who came down and campaigned for him in 2014 and in 2018, he is a Republican running in a blue state and does as much as possible to give the appearance that he is moderate in order to get elected in a blue state. So on the outside looking in, some people might think, oh, he's very moderate. He's a good guy. He's not like the others. He has been vocal about not being, with Trump, but Donald Trump endorsed him, and Mitch McConnell personally recruited him. And he is a registered Republican, and he will vote with the Republicans in the Senate. That's it. So he will be the 51st vote for restricting abortion access, for not tightening gun control. If Donald Trump is president, he would be a 51st vote for radical right-wing Supreme Court justices. he would just be the 51st vote. And a lot of the work that the Maryland Democratic Party is doing through our social media and through our press conferences and through the media is making sure that our electorate understands the difference between a governor and a senator. We don't have the time, frankly, the money, the energy to try to convince people that he was a bad governor, even though he was. His record shows he was a bad governor for Marylanders. But we do have the time, we do have the energy, and we are focusing on educating the electorate on what it means to be a United States senator as a registered Republican. And that means you fall in line and you vote with your Republican colleagues.
So yeah, now you mentioned Chris Christie, and Chris Christie's a wild dude. We know him real well at this place, Chris, New Jersey, in a very real, disaffected way, is known as the Soprano State. And when people say the Soprano State, we're not just talking about the gangster television show and that dimension of New Jersey history. New Jersey is very gangster in that way, absolutely. It's one of the foremost gangster states. Ain't no doubt about that, right? But what we're talking about is the deep-seated, double-dipping, triple-dipping, turn your head on anything in terms of transparency with managing resources in government that is government corruption. Now, Mr. Chris Christie and his healthy appetite came into our field of scope, calling himself a reformer to clean up the corruption. Of course, he wound up leaving under the baggage of Bridgegate over his head, having bitten in that same apple of corruption. How would you compare Mr. Christie, our ex-governor, who played and confused and hoodwinked a whole lot of black folks and got some of them votes from them black folks, right? For his 2 terms, right? How would you compare Mr. Christie to Mr. Hogan when Mr. Hogan was governor?
I just think that they're very, very similar. There's a lot of similarities between, New Jersey and Maryland, but one big difference is that Maryland has far more Democrats in the legislature than New Jersey does. I mean, we only have one Republican member of our federal delegation here in Maryland. So I would say that Larry Hogan had to really try to play that moderate role, probably a lot more than Chris Christie had to, which is kind of odd to say about someone who was the governor of New Jersey, but Maryland is just more Democratic. And, because he was so popular and because a lot of people recognized his popularity and this, because he was our governor, some things he was able to, some people were forced to work with him, and he took a lot of credit for a lot of things that the Democrats did in the legislature, and then tried to write it off as him being a moderate. Now there's just a lot of revisionist history that he tries to portray. If you ask anyone in the city of Baltimore about Larry Hogan, a lot of them would have a lot of negative things to say. But if you ask him, he was marching on the front lines after Freddie Gray, and he was, right there, locked arms, and, working with the community and helping with public transportation and everything like that. But we just know that is just not true. I did a press conference roundtable with the mayor of Baltimore and some Baltimore leaders a few weeks ago, and the residents and the people of Baltimore remember exactly how Larry Hogan treated them, and they won't forget, and a lot of the rest of the state won't forget either. So I feel like he really tried to hide behind trying to be a moderate and a bridge builder when that frankly just was not the case. There was mismanagement of a lot of funds, and if you follow us on mddems.org, there was a lot of government employees that just didn't get paid correctly due to Larry Hogan. There is just there's just a lot there with Larry Hogan, but he really tried to mask it very, very well as a moderate. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't know enough about what happens in local politics or pay attention enough to really see the impact. But those who have been impacted and those who do remember it well. And we're doing everything we can to amplify that.
Which is precisely why this platform was built in the way it was built. And I'm very proud of the founders of the show. My co-host Ed Riley is the founding producer, along with Jonathan Alston, who's not on today. This is precisely why they built this particular platform in the way they did it. Now, but now tell us who we got running against Big Hit Mr. Hogan.
So we have Angela Alsobrooks running against him, and I come to you from Prince George's County, Maryland, where I'm here and I'm raising my daughter, and she's in Prince George's County Public Schools as a kindergartner. And Angela Alsobrooks is our county executive. She's serving in her second term as county executive, and before that, she was our state's attorney for Prince George's County. And she is a fantastic and dynamic candidate that we are rallying behind for this historic moment. She has a strong right. Prince George's County is one of the largest counties here in Maryland. And for those of you who just kind of don't know about Prince George's County, it's the richest Black county in the country. And there are a lot of immigrants. There are a lot of diverse people that live in this county, and Angela Alsobrooks led this county through COVID. She, you just imagine being a county executive leading this county through COVID. She's born and raised in Prince George's County, raised her daughter here in Prince George's County, and she just would be an excellent representation in the United States Senate. Many of you should know that Maryland is the state that sent the first woman to the United States Senate, elected in her own right. That would be Barbara Mikulski out of Baltimore. And now Maryland has no women in our federal delegation. No women in our federal delegation. No Black women in our federal delegation. Just no women. And Angela Alsobrooks is running to change that. And she will represent us and represent us well in the United States Senate. And she will be the 51st vote, possibly, for the Democrats. And she also has a very strong relationship with the Vice President Kamala Harris. They go actually way back. Angela Alsobrooks is serving as a state's attorney, as I mentioned, and then Kamala Harris's background as an attorney representing San Francisco, and then the Attorney General of California. They have been good friends, and future Senator Alsobrooks considers the vice president to be a mentor. The vice president has been to our state a few times to campaign with County Executive Alsobrooks, and we are just, the excitement in our state is through the roof to elect both of these women on November 5th.
Powerful. Ed, you want to jump in? I want to take her, let her tell her origin story too, because that's
I can't believe what she just told me. She said that there are no women. I'm like, what?
No, but let us also appreciate the pivotal significance of the concentration of Black vote in the state of Maryland. A lot of our folks around the country don't appreciate that. That needs to be amplified. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, no, I mean, I've over the years, I've always heard a lot about Prince George. You know what I mean? So, I know that's a real progressive county down there in Maryland. So, big ups to them and when she talks about the level of excitement that's going on down there, it makes me want to take a trip just to get some of that on me.
Words right out.
Come down here.
I was going to come down there for something else. We ain't going to talk about that right now.
We're trying to dissuade people. Pennsylvania is a neighboring state for all of us on this call. And a lot of people are eager to go to Pennsylvania to knock doors for Kamala Harris, as they should be. But we have a very important historic Senate race right here in Maryland that is very close. And we would love people to come down here and help us knock doors for Angela Alsobrooks as well.
Yeah, that'd be a heavy. Now, let's back up. Now, you have done some very incredible things on your way to becoming the the executive director of the Democratic Party in Maryland, right? One of the things that you did that I especially want you to lift up, and I'm especially proud of, and I want all of our female listeners, particularly our younger female listeners, to pay attention to, is that you ran an organization that trained women to run for office, right? Tell that story.
Wow.
Well, I have to correct you and say I didn't run it. Another amazing black woman, Ashanti Golar, is the president of Emerge, and she's a fantastic leader and mentor to me. And any opportunity that I have to uplift her, I will do it. But immediately prior to coming to the Maryland Democratic Party, I served as the major gifts director for Emerge, which is a national organization that trains Democratic women to run for office. Coincidentally, Emerge was founded by the same group of women in the Bay Area that helped Kamala Harris launch her first campaign. So over 20 years ago, Emerge was, Kamala Harris was looking to run for office. A group of women recognized that she was a star and was an excellent leader. She didn't really know where to start, how to get going. And women came together to help her and to teach her about stump speech and how to raise money and how to hire campaign staff and how to work with consultants and do media training. And then from that, they founded Emerge. So the first part of Emerge was founded in California. And then it's in 27 plus states across the country. There's an Emerge New Jersey, and Britnee Timberlake is actually one of the alums of Emerge New Jersey. There's a lot of fantastic alums around the country. And I used to be on the board for Emerge Maryland. And one of the first graduates from Emerge Maryland is now the first woman comptroller for the state of Maryland. I was just with her today. Her name is Brooke Learman. Our lieutenant governor for the state of Maryland, Aruna Miller, used to be an Emerge Maryland board member as well. She is the first API lieutenant governor, I believe, in the country. And she's a fantastic leader as well. So Emerge does a lot of work to lead. Under the leadership of Ashanti Golar, Emerge was first in its, amongst its peers of training organizations to launch a program called Seated Together, where they train women that are looking to run for higher office. And I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Britnee was in one of the Emerge cohorts as someone looking to ascend to a higher office. So people that are, that are local elected officials might be delegates or councilwomen or school board members and want to see that an open congressional seat opens up or United States Senate seat opens up and they want to level up and run for a higher office. There is a signature training program specifically for Black women that are seeking to do that. And after I left Emerge, I stayed apart. Once you are a part of the Emerge network, you stay in the Emerge network. And in May of this year, I was able to provide a fundraising training to the current cohort of Emerge Seated Together who are seeking higher office. So I'm really, really proud to have spent time at that organization and really happy to still be a part of the Emerge network.
Now I put the web page link in the chat, emergeamerica.org, right? To our daughters and granddaughters that are on the activist front and want to take the next step. There's a place for you to definitely do that. Now I got to tell you now as an old head right now, that out of nowhere there come this young man with don't need no haircut, speak real good, and he get to be the governor of that whole state. Right? Tell us about this. I want to know about this young man, Mr. Moore. Where he because he kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of us. He just kind of
did. He did.
Tell us about the emergence or the ascendance of Governor Wes Moore, if you may.
So, as I mentioned, in 2014, I was on the campaign for our now Attorney General Anthony Brown when he ran to be what we hoped would be the first Black governor of the state of Maryland in 2014. After that loss, I took it hard and I stayed out of gubernatorial politics in Maryland and was happy to watch from the sidelines in 2022 when that primary, the primary to be the governor of Maryland included our sitting comptroller of many years, former attorney general of our state, former DNC chair, and cabinet member for in the Obama administration, also the former Secretary of Education in the Obama administration, and then this man named Wes Moore, just to name a few people that were in that primary. Governor Wes Moore went from being, I think, at 5% at the polls, in the polls, to being the Democratic nominee for governor of Maryland. And it was just very exciting and interesting to see. There's a few people that I trust a lot in Maryland politics, especially in Baltimore. And one of those people is my mentor, Michael Cryer, who helped me get my first job and helped me get my career. And when I knew that he was supporting Wes Moore, I knew he would be okay. One thing that I would say is from the very beginning, I saw that he had important, intelligent people surrounding him that knew Maryland politics. And I mean, I learned even when I got into this role, all the people that were really behind the scenes helping him. And I was like, that was incredibly smart. I think a lot of the country might have, remembered him from his book that he had and his time on the Oprah Winfrey Show promoting that book. Here in Maryland, there had been whispers a few times about him potentially running for mayor of Baltimore and different things. But then when he jumped out there and ran for governor, I think, it's hard to deny a charismatic leader, right? I mean, we saw that with Barack Obama, and we see it with Wes Moore. He's a very positive, charismatic leader. And, on the outside looking in, you might ask yourself, is he really that nice? Is he really that energetic? Is he really that fired up? Is he really that, that has to be, he can't really be like that, but he is. I'm here to say that he absolutely is. And he's a passionate leader and really cares about, this work. And I think that's something that we saw on the extreme bad side of this, is, someone like a Donald Trump who never ran for political office before, decided he wanted to shake things up, wanted to jump in there to make change and all of that. And we see the outcome of that. But then we also see people that are excellent leaders. Wes Moore used to lead the Robin Hood Foundation up in New York, one of the largest organizations that gives back to the community. And, we see he's a Rhodes Scholar. He is a military veteran. He has all of the chops to be a fantastic leader. And he chose to apply that to public service and to run for governor of Maryland. And, he I feel like something that Maryland really, really, really has been able to lean in on is being a standard bearer for what African-American leadership can look like in politics. And the governor Wes Moore is a great representation of that. I would be remiss if I did not mention that his wife actually goes way back in Maryland politics and used to work for a former governor, Paris Glendening. So Dawn Moore actually is very political in her own right. And actually, was the X factor, I believe, in him becoming the governor of Maryland. So it's just, and then when to learn that Dawn Moore and the current chair of the Maryland Democratic Party, Mr. Ken Ullman, who was also the running mate to Anthony Brown 10 years ago. So me and Ken Ullman go back with Larry Hogan 10 years because we lost to him 10 years ago. But Dawn Moore and Ken Ullman actually both worked together on former Maryland Governor Glenn Denning's campaign. And he actually was influential in making in the governor and the first lady meeting each other and marrying, and then full circle. I didn't even know this, but he was behind the scenes helping with debate prep and getting him ready to run this race to be governor. And it's just a very full circle moment when we think about the people that have come together to really support this governor and the people that he has surrounding him to take him to the next level.
That's a mouthful. That's a lot. And he got my attention. I mean, he got all of our attention when he won. But I work in community-based violence intervention, and one of the things that the Biden administration has been decent with, particularly his Justice Department, is helping to resource that and to support that. And there's a whole field of trainings that now comes out of the Justice Department in putting folks in the field in that work. And when those trainings are done, everybody goes to and is celebrated in the White House. And it was him and Vice President Harris that were receiving everybody after their trainings and getting their certificates and whatnot at the White House, when he really got my attention. So he's somebody that understands something that's very important to our communities in terms of, what we need to do to bring down the horror of the violence that our communities have been plagued with. And Maryland is a big state. Of course, we got a whole lot of Black love and Black pain in Baltimore, right? You have somebody there that understands the value of that work. So I wanted to lift that up. But now let's take a little deeper dive into the land of Crystal Darks herself. Now, you work with and then have helped launch the careers and the elections of some incredible people, right? Who are your inspirations? Who set you off, and particularly with the women in mind? Who set you off? Who inspired you to get in this to the depth that you have and to you shaping your own landscape and becoming who you have become?
That's a really good question. I would say the person that probably inspired me the most to get into electoral politics specifically was Donna Brazile. So in 2008, I was in high school watching the Obama election, and she was a political commentator on CNN and ABC, and I saw this Black woman speaking about politics, and then I looked into her background and learned that she was the first, Black woman to manage a presidential campaign. She managed Al Gore's campaign, and I read her books and I looked into all of the work that she does. And, I knew that I wanted to, by the time I graduated from high school, I knew I wanted to work in electoral politics. And it was because, I'm really big proponent as if you can see it, you can achieve it. And I saw her and I wanted to be a political commentator. And then I learned that the way that you do that is you got to work on some campaigns and do some things so you can have something to talk about. I thought that I was going to follow her path to the T. She was an organizer. And, a lot of the time especially when she was coming up in politics, they isolate Black people, Black women to turning out the Black vote. And that is what I thought I was going to do. But I came down to Maryland via Morgan State University, my HBCU that I love so dearly. And when I was at Morgan State University, I was the student member of the Board of Regents. And by having that opportunity, I had the opportunity to sit in the president's box at the football games. And because I was a very busy student leader, I almost never went except for homecoming. I took my mom up to the box, and my mom recognized Peter Harvey, who was a Morgan alum, who was the first Black attorney general from New Jersey. She recognized him and she pushed me to go speak to him and introduce myself, because we all recognized that I need a job after graduation. So I went and I introduced myself to him, and he immediately turned me to the man who was the former chair of the Maryland Democratic Party, who I mentioned previously, Michael Cryer, and he got me connected on the Anthony Brown campaign to run for governor of Maryland. So I was the first intern on that campaign. I started interning on that campaign a couple of days before I graduated from college. And when and because I was also the student member of the Board of Regents, one of our board members by the name of Marty Resnick, he owns some Martin's Catering. If anybody in Maryland knows Martin's Catering, because he owns a few big event venues here in Maryland, but he hosted a fundraiser for Anthony Brown and he invited me as his guest. And Anthony Brown saw me at that fundraiser, just talking to people and, shaking hands and mixing and mingling. And for anybody who's listening that wants to get a job on a campaign, the fundraisers are the first ones hired and the last ones fired. So the fundraising department was looking to hire a finance assistant, which is entry-level position in campaign fundraising. And because Anthony Brown saw me at that fundraiser, he made the recommendation that they hire me. And from that moment, I was no longer interested in organizing, and I was a Black woman fundraiser, which is a rare, very rare thing. Black fundraisers and Black women fundraisers are very, very rare. They're more common now, but they're very rare. And from that race, I went on to go on to a national fundraising consulting firm where I was there for 6 years. And I had a full circle moment where I worked for Congressman Elijah Cummings, the late Congressman Elijah Cummings that represented Baltimore. I also served with him on the Morgan State Board of Regents. So it was a very full circle moment. He was considering running to be the first Black senator from Maryland at the time, but ended up sticking with my firm. And from 2015 until his passing of 2019, my job was to take him around the country and make sure people knew exactly how dynamic he was and help him raise money to raise his profile. I also worked on United States Senator Amy Klobuchar's reelection in 2018, and then worked on her presidential election in 2020. And then also the day that we had the primary special election to replace Congressman Cummings, we got a call that this woman named Lucy McBath needed a new fundraising consultant. And my boss was like, should we work for her? And I said, we absolutely should.
I want people to appreciate who Lucy McBath is, particularly this particular audience. Because like I said, it was, this is a program that was built on the streets of Newark, New Jersey, right? And addressing our own bloodbath, right? And Lucy has a great story. Just very briefly, remind everybody who Lucy McBath is and how she came to this connect that you're talking about.
Well, I mean, many of us will remember that in 2017, there was a very big contested congressional race in Georgia. A guy by the name of John Ossoff, who's now the senator from from Georgia, ran one of the most expensive races to try to win the congressional seat, and he lost. In 2018, a woman by the name of Lucy McBath ran in that seat and she won, which was the biggest highlight of 2018. Lucy McBath is a cancer survivor. She is a former flight attendant, and she is Jordan's mom. In 2012, many of us might have known about the loud music shooting that happened in Jacksonville, Florida. This is when a group of teenage boys went to a gas station to get some gum before they went to Black Friday shopping, so they could run into ladies and make sure they had their gum. They pulled up at the gas station, and a white man and his wife, or his girlfriend, I think, pulled up next to them and told them that they needed to turn down their loud hip hop music. They needed to turn it down. Lucy's son, Jordan, said, no, we don't need to turn it down. Why would we need to turn it down? We're here just like you are. Next thing you know, he fired shots into the vehicle that they were sitting in, killing her son. And something that Elijah Cummings used to always talk about was turning your pain into your purpose. And Lucy McBath got involved with Moms Demand Action in Everytown for gun safety and was an activist there. And then Ashanti Golar, who I uplifted before, sat her down and talked to her about running for office. And she went through the Emerge program, actually. And then she decided that she was going to run for Congress, and the rest is history. And she's just a remarkable human being.
Would love to connect with her. That's another conversation.
Yep, there we go. Jordan Davis. That's her son.
Yeah. She's
That's
an amazing soul. Right.
So she's remarkable. So she won that election in 2018, and then she had to defend that seat in 2020, and she was looking for diversity and looking for someone to run her national fundraising program. So we started working for Lucy McBath in February of 2020. I went on one trip with her to San Francisco to raise some money, and then the world shut down, and I worked with her over Zoom, and we raised a lot of money from March until November of 2020. And her district is also very important. Everybody remembers Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House. That is the district that she flipped, that she flipped Democratic. It had not been Democratic for over 20 years, and she flipped that district. So in 2020, she was facing a very tough re-election and had to raise a lot of money. And I will say this, she's the hardest working campaigner that I've ever worked with. Something that she would always say is that, the worst thing that could ever happen to me has already happened to me. There's nothing these people can say or do to me that will, throw me off track. And in 2020, I put on my mask and I went down to Georgia for Election Day, and Lucy McBath beat, just coincidentally, Karen Handel, and beat her by 9 points. 9 points. And then the Republicans tried to gerrymander her district out, and she ran another district. She won again. And then they tried to gerrymander her again, and she ran another district, and now she is in a safe district that's probably going to win again. And because she will not let them kick her out. She is a mother on a mission. That's, I have a t-shirt that says that from her campaign, and she is just a remarkable human being. And in the 2020 cycle, like many people, 2020 was rough for me. I was a single mom, and Lucy McBath was, I couldn't imagine working for anybody more motivating than working for Lucy McBath as a new mom. So that was an incredible cycle. And then last year, I had a full circle moment where I went back and worked for her in my own consulting firm capacity and helped her with her reelection before I came over to the Maryland Democratic Party. So I also did some time working for Beto O'Rourke in Texas on his gubernatorial campaign until the 22 cycle, and worked for the Michigan Attorney General, and worked with, helped the Joint Center, which is the first and Black think tank in Washington, D.C., celebrate their 50th anniversary, and helped raise money for them in 2020. So my background is in fundraising, and I'm really excited that the Maryland Democratic Party has given me the opportunity to expand on that and be the executive director at this crucial time in Maryland.
Great stuff, Karen. And she unpacked a lot of places where, in terms of organizing and pushing and organizing and campaigning for power, including the ultimate crucible of fundraising, something that really our community is just really learning to do, right? This young woman is right up in the midst of all of that. I'm very proud of her. And as we take her out, ask her the ritual question. We let Britnee get pass without the ritual question. Take her out with the ritual question. You muted.
We did. So Karen, we are a political hip hop radio talk show. And so, one of the questions we ask everybody is who is your favorite hip hop artist? Something you rock into right now, something you listen to, something that motivates you, particularly to get out in the field, knock on doors, or, something that keeps you going. I'm gonna give you the title of a song, but don't have to be your song. What is it that keeps you fighting the power?
So you're referencing a current, like somebody that has current music or any
old,
whatever
is motivating you, whatever you go for.
So I would say my favorite hip hop artist, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on with Newark's finest here. I am gonna say is Lauryn Hill.
Oh.
Yeah, the miseducation can never. The miseducation can never, will never, not be relevant, especially to me. Me and my sister had the opportunity to be front row to Lauryn Hill concert last year around this time in Philadelphia, and it was amazing. But literally a couple days ago, I had on my T-shirt that I bought for that concert, and it said, "How you gonna win when you ain't right within?" It's just very, straight to the point, right? How are you going to win when you ain't right within? Let's ask Donald Trump that question.
Yeah.
Let's ask Larry Hogan that question.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's ask a lot of these people on the ballot, how are you going to win when you ain't right within?
Right on.
And the theme, the theme from the convention of a subtle theme, but not so subtle from the Democratic National Convention was joy, right? Joy. And today I was at a luncheon where our Senate nominee, Angela Alsorbrook, spoke, and she said, we're not just voting against something, we're voting for something. Yeah. And that shows, what's within, right? What's motivating everyone, what's motivating our Democratic electorate, especially here in Maryland and across the country. So I would definitely have to say Lauryn Hill is my favorite hip hop artist. I am a Jersey girl now. I am.
I don't know if you see your sister and your mother blowing the chat up.
Well, Karen, I tell you, we definitely got to talk with you.
Gotta have you back.
Yeah, we got to have you back. But more importantly, I think like Zaid said, that space you in terms of being able to be a fundraiser, we've got to teach Black folks how to get into that space, right? We have Midi Baraka, who is, probably one of the smartest young political strategists in the country. And he's on his way to getting his brother elected here in New Jersey.
He came to my reception during convention that Westmore hosted. I've shook his hand and said I'm rooting for him.
Yeah. But one of the pieces we need to talk to you about, we need to add, we need to put together, young fundraisers all over the country, right? As we begin to change this political climate, we need to be able to raise that money, right? Because the two things that are true about politics, and you already know this, is money and name recognition, right? So there's no bigger name here in New Jersey running in the gubernatorial race than Ras Baraka. We just got to raise that money, right? And we got to be able to compete with all of those different folks. So might be reaching back out to you to talk to you about that. In terms of, helping put together a team and, let's talk about, how do we, raise that kind of money that you went down there to raise for the Congresswoman. You said she raised a lot of money. Well, we need to raise a lot of money too.
Would love to.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good stuff, Karen. All right. Glad to have you. Very proud of you, though. Right? Talk to you soon, right? You give Destiny a big hug and kiss from a crazy uncle.
I will.
I'll let you know when I'm gonna take a ride down there too, baby. All right?
Okay. Well, be prepared to babysit, okay?
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Peter.
TJ!
Baba, what's good, my brother?
Powerful segment coming up. Right, and I don't know if we get Gwen Carr behind TJ, we smoking tonight, for real. The implacable Maroon. Who am I talking about? We're just coming out of Black August, or the month of we spotlight Black revolutionary resistance, inspired by George and Jonathan Jackson. And one of those Black August dates that are important to us is August 23rd. That was the birth date of one of the most feared and most beloved in the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, and Russell Moroon Shoatz. So feared was he that he wound up doing 49 years in prison, over 30 in solitary confinement. Escaped prison twice, like a Maroon should. Right? He was very much the military combatant that he was, right? And we all loved him dearly. Great T.J. Whitaker, prize cover of the Black Panther Party, radical Black educator, and one of the organizers and founders of MAPSO Freedom School, is hosting the New Jersey book launch for the book I Am Maroon, the biography of Moroon Shoatz. And you know, we have our own relationships with the great Maroon. So TJ, welcome back, little brother. Come on, talk to us about what's happening with Maroon in the book and tomorrow and all like that. Sharon and Russell and Teresa, you know, you got it.
Yeah,
got
it. Hot off the presses. And Russ and Sharon are actually in New York tonight doing an event as we speak. They would have been on the show. The only reason that they're not is because literally the event in New York is at the same time of the show. But tomorrow, our kickoff event for the school year with MAPSO Freedom School will be at Elita's Coffee, a Black-owned cafe on Valley Street in South Orange, for the New Jersey book launch for Maroon. Maroon is, as Zaid said, almost 50-year political prisoner, 30 years in solitary. One of the many political prisoners that I was able to visit, over the last 30 years, and acted as a mentor for me. The thing that, if I could just kind of get into the book a little bit, one of the things that I personally love, again, having read so many, Panther and BLA autobiographies, it's again, a revolutionary story, but it's also a local story, right? It's very much a Philly story. Maroon comes to the alliance with the Black Panther Party through a formation called the Black Unity Council in Philadelphia. And that was the work that he and others put in, organizing, what we call street formations, moving them to revolutionary politics. And so that process, talking about, again, family relationships, and again, like other autobiographies, his experience in the Philadelphia public school system, right? He highlights and just written really well. He talks about his time coming to New York and hearing Malcolm X for the first time, of course, and the impact that had. Zaid talked about the two escapes, and having the opportunity to have read an earlier version of the book before it was published. I'll say again, this one back in the 90s, when we used to talk about, when gangster rap was kind of right at its height, and we used to say, you don't have to be rapping about Gambino or Gotti, right? Like there were OGs and the Panthers and the BLA. When you read this story, right, it reads like a political thriller, right? And so whether we're talking about the escapes, whether we're talking about surviving underground in the Appalachian Mountains of Pennsylvania, the OG or the Maroon, right, that was Russell Shoatz, comes through clearly. So I'll just take a minute and shout out the co-author, Kanya Almeida. Her input or contribution brings out Maroon's voice in a way that is just so clear. And again, just to really compare it, I think the version that I read maybe 8 or 10 years ago was Maroon's work, right? But it's working with Kanya, who's a writer herself, an award-winning writer. When she comes in to help do some editing, his voice just comes through, even that much more. Yeah, man, I think it's a must-have for folks who, right, just want to have another story from the Black liberation movement. But if you are into reading great writing, and I know a lot of folks like to, listen to books and things like, but the writing by the co-author Kanya is just phenomenal. And so, I'll stop there, and we can continue.
Well, let's take a teachable moment, because I want folks to understand what we say too. Also, and about tell everybody what a Maroon is. Where do we get that language? right? It doesn't come out of the sky, and don't just sound good, right? Where does that come from in our ancestral legacy, and why does that line up so much with Russell the way it does?
Well, again, I'm gonna use Maroon's words itself, but again, we know the Maroons were the runaway slaves, the ones who refused to submit, who again were always on the run, were always resisting, at every point, and who understood why they were doing that. And so, if I could, Maroon says, I paid for those 27 days of freedom. This was in one instance when he had escaped and he was captured. I paid for those 27 days of freedom with 22 years of my life in the hole. That's shorthand among prisoners for solitary confinement. For over 2 decades, I was locked inside a tiny cell, a cage with no human contact. But even in prison, a Maroon is a free man. It infuriates his captors to know that no matter how fiercely they beat him, they cannot break him. This is because Maroons are revolutionaries. We are committed mind, body, and soul to the struggle against oppression. Maroons seldom act alone. We receive tremendous support from fellow fighters, sometimes from strangers. Safe houses provide food and shelter, and the very earth gives up its bounty to us in times of need. Yet, our paths are often littered with loss, comrades who've fallen, and families we've turned our backs on along the way. Ours is a hard road, full of stones and thorns that cannot deter us from our mission. Those of us who've opened our eyes and seen it all, from the plantation to the penitentiary, we know that Maroonage is not an option, it's the only way. This is an account of how one man became a Maroon. This is my story. And that's from the prologue.
Ooh. Oh.
He brings it.
Straight ahead.
And if I could, for folks who may not be aware of some of Maroon's work on the inside, I think he also touches on some of that. But JoJo Bowen was or is one of the brothers who were locked down, who were one of the young lifers that Maroon used to work with, and on the inside, again working with the young lifers. So we get this quote from JoJo Bowen. He says, I met our chief, Maroon, in the hole in solitary confinement in a state penitentiary in the state of in Pennsylvania. I said to myself, this is a Black man that wants to help the Black slave come out of bondage. Me and my people, had not heard talk like this in our lifetime. We liked this rap. It was new, different, and we supported it. So this is from, again, these are perhaps former gangbangers, right? Folks who were previously, right, not doing the right thing here in the community. But they're running to Maroon on the inside, right? And he's literally schooling generations, right, of these brothers. So just a couple of weeks ago, at the end of August, I'm on the Black August call with Black Men Build, right? And they had Salim Holbrook from the Abolitionist Law Center on. So Jalil Muntakeen and Daruba were the two guests, but Salim shared a story about Maroon when he was locked down. And he says he meets Maroon on the inside, and he's telling Maroon now he's inside because he was riding for his community, and he was riding for his community. And Maroon pushes him in terms of exactly what you were doing to ride on your community. And in the course of the conversation, of course, it comes out, he's kind of gangbanging, he's slinging. And over the course of decades, right, Maroon kind of schools him, and he realizes, bro, you were doing the work of the enemy, right? You weren't riding hard for your community, right? You're riding hard for the community. You need to ride against them, Popo. You need to ride against, these prisons. And so Salim spoke so glowingly, said there's no way that he would have made it, through his time inside if it wasn't, for a person like Maroon. So again, we learn, we get inspired by him. Again, I was only able to visit him one time. It was, again, extremely inspirational. We have written back and forth, but please, if you have the means, definitely get the book. Russell and Sharon will be in the house tomorrow to speak about, their dad, the work that they're doing. holding his, keeping his legacy alive. And so again, the Moroon the Implacable is more nonfiction, a series of essays. But this piece here, again, a political thriller. I think it's a definite must-have.
Wow. TJ, back up. Take a minute. Take a beat. Right. Tell us what's happening with MAPSO Freedom School, and how does a MAPSO Freedom School get to pick up something with this kind of heavy revolutionary weight in a very public educational setting? That's a great story. Share some of that with us if you can, to remind our listeners how you rolling.
Yeah. So, we're 8 years in the running now, 8 years old. We started, as most folks who know us know, on the heels of a police brutality incident in South Orange, Maplewood. Some of our young folks were attacked after attending 4th of July fireworks, exhibit. So we come together to support.
We can't make that up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're trying to get home, and the police decide that they don't live in that community. And they herd them through Maplewood into Irvington and literally attack these kids. And so that first year we come together to support the students. And it took a year. It was an excellent lesson in protracted struggle because after about 10 months, the town and the police were forced to release the audio and video that we have been campaigning for. And it was upon the release of that audio and video that everything that our young folks said happened was proven and actually happened. And so they were attacked by the police. And so protracted struggle, like I said, we were able to get the police chief and his captain fired. He had been, in power for 30 years. He had folks in pocket from preachers and pastors and community leaders. And so that was an excellent way for us to get started. And since then, we've been doing racial justice education in South Orange, Maplewood. More recently, again, the struggle continues. The work that we've been doing for the last few years has been attacked, right, by folks in town and the community who, clearly don't, who speak to it, right, verbally. South Orange, Maplewood, this liberal, right, democratic town, talks a good game. But when it comes to it, they don't necessarily put their money where their mouth is. And so when we came out in support of Palestine last year, when we came out against Israel and Zionism, and we're active in our programming and bringing folks to speak, the die was cast. And so we have been the central target of all of the conservatives and the Zionists in South Orange, Maplewood, which is heavy. So much so that just last week, at the start of this campaign season for school board, right? And, in some towns, the school board race can go on and nobody knows, right? In other towns, like people spend, right, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get elected. That's what happens in South Orange, Maplewood. Yeah. So the other day, one of my colleagues sent me a post that was on social media where there's a group of Zionists, local Zionists, that are telling all of the potential candidates for school board that, they need to fire me. They need to get rid of MAPSO Freedom School, that my colleague in MAPSO Freedom School, who is Palestinian and who had a poster that just said Gaza on it, literally Gaza, just said Gaza, nothing else, no pictures, nothing else. That's a war poster, right, that Jewish children are forced to go in and see and be tortured by. And so when you say what's up with MAPSO Freedom School, Zaid, our work continues, right? But it's not without, the attacks that quite frankly, we expect. And it's a part of the work.
Yeah, indeed. And you got an open mic here whenever you need it, right, to build support for you in defense of the work, right? So we definitely want to make that real plain and make that real clear. We got Curb Fest in Brooklyn at the same time that y'all got to sign it, right? So I'm gonna mention you. We're missing the night because we're doing this, right? And I'm gonna mention tomorrow because I got to do that, right? But I'm definitely gonna lift it up, and I'm glad you got out there and got to that. We got a bunch of books that a couple of weeks ago, before I went to I had to do a little sojourn in Cuba for a hot second. We had Jessica Black on, who co-edited Mumia's new book.
Yes.
Right?
Excellent.
Mike Oscar Jr.'s got a new book coming out.
Yep.
Right. And I have been trying to lay the die work to do something around Comrade Sisters, because there's a local elder comrade who definitely needs to be lifted up, who's fighting for, her space on this earth, and really has been a resource for a whole lot of us for a whole lot of years. Right. So I'm glad you're out there. Just keep hitting it.
One of the things I'm thinking about, we should talk about, is doing a Black Writers Conference, man, for the and just bring these folks together. We'll talk about it. But
yeah. I mean,
we gotta get it out. But reading, we gotta get folks back. Come on, man. Like Zaid. Open the book, y'all. Come on.
You ain't gonna Google your way to freedom.
Hey, man, listen.
You ain't gonna YouTube your way to freedom.
Exactly.
They got their place, but we got
exactly.
Study, fight, and train, baby. We can't get away from that.
Brother Ed, thanks for having me, man. Brother Zaid, thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you, Brother TJ. But there's a Black Writers Conference in Brooklyn every year too.
Yes. No doubt.
That our sister April Silver, is down with that and promoting it and so forth. So you want to do that in Jersey, man, you should definitely connect with her, and and definitely talk about putting that together. I know she would love to do that, man.
No doubt.
Especially with her relationship with the Baraka family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so many writers too.
Yeah.
If y'all can give me the connect, man, or hook me up, like I'll definitely take it from there and run with it. So
we'll make it happen. Yep.
Ask him a question, Ed.
Yeah. So we got to ask you, man. You're doing all this important work around, the community school. I mean, I was me and Capelli was going back and forth a little bit about that model and why that model, needs to be duplicated. Of course, Mayor Baraka and of course the great Dr. Lauren Wells, as did that at Central. And we talked about why that model needs to be duplicated. And thank God you continue that sojourn. What are you listening to, man, from the hip hop genre that keeps you motivated and keeps you going, man?
So I think the last time I was on, I talked about how I listened to a lot of hip hop instrumentals. But in the last couple of weeks, I don't know if y'all know about this, but RZA just dropped a ballet.
Really?
Right. RZA just dropped a ballet.
We gotta ask Rhino about that.
Yeah, man. It's called RZA, a ballet through mud. Right. He did the collaboration with the Colorado Symphony. And after Wu-Tang, did their thing, RZA's done a number of like more creative projects that wouldn't be seen as hip hop. But I would just say, again, instrumental, not as much lyrical. But for me, like if I'm decompressing, for meditation purposes, just trying to get my mind right, check out RZA, a ballet through mud, please.
A ballet through mud.
Yeah.
And wasn't there another brother out of Atlanta who tried to do that recently? I forget the brother's name, man. I got to ask Rhino about him. Another brother tried to do that. He got a lot of negative feedback, for trying to switch his music, trying to do a different style. But, but going and using an orchestra, really shows you what that hip hop art form really can do, no matter what the music is.
The range of talent, man, is untapped, man. And so,
yeah. Andre 2000. There it is. Thank you, brother Pele. Yeah, he got a lot of negative feedback trying to do that. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So as as hip hop, as heads mature, get older, and all of that, right? The eclecticism kicks in, and you can actually take deeper dives into stuff that you would just previously just sample.
Right. Yes.
And and I think that speaks to because even when Karen was talking, I was thinking in my mind, Lauryn Hill sold 80 million records, man. Right? Think about that miseducation of Lauryn Hill. 80 million records. right? You know, and you think about some of those lines. You know, how you gonna win when you're not right within,
Oh my
right?
God,
You think about,
that's echoing back now. Yeah,
right. You think about that, and then you think about, you know, you talk about RZA, you know, being able to go and make that kind of music now. I mean, you know, this is growth, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know, and remember, you know, you're not talking about somebody who's a child. You're talking about 50-year-old men now, right? And when you think about Andre 3000, he even said that. He said, "I'm not going to make the music I made when I
Yeah,
was
exactly.
right, right.
I want to do something different, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something I haven't done, right?" And I think that that's the way for all of us, right? Even being able to stretch yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what art is,
Yes.
right? Art is supposed to speak to the current issues of the day, and then, and in my mind, art doesn't have a judgment zone,
Right.
right?
Yeah, you could take a different lens, right, and look at it from a different perspective, right?
Right.
A different way. So it's poetry, spoken word, right? You know, you start.
Yeah, and for me, I see writing that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Writing is an expression, right? Of you know, because when you think about, you know, folks who are great writers and those folks who can articulate the issues of the time, right? You think about James Baldwin,
Mm-hmm.
right? His
My favorites.
writing never gonna die,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it continues to live and it continues to speak because of the level of realness to it, right? LL Cool J dropped one today and said the same. He wanted to evolve, not replicate what he did in the past. That's real talk.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You
real
gotta-
talk. Thank you, President Capele. I think that for me, that's what I want 50-year-olds to do, right?
That's right.
I don't want 50
Expand
year
the genre, bro. Exactly.
You know what I
Expand the
mean?
genre. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's a teaching moment, right? How can you take your art, right, and make music? Because there's an actual saying that you have a lot of preachers, when you get with them privately and you talk to them, right, brother TJ and Zaid, they'll ask you privately, TJ, they'll say, if I could talk to my 20-year-old self
Mm-hmm.
What would I
versus
say?
my 60-year-old
Right.
self.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
I
right.
Joe would be having no 20-year-old conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be having a 60-year-old conversation with him, right? Because I've learned something in those 40 years that I can teach. And that's what for me, when I see hip hop artists like RZA, Andre 3000, LL Cool J, when I see them go and not try to be the old guy in the club,
Mm-hmm.
right? That makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Don't be
Well
the
said.
50-year-old guy with these 20-year-old kids.
Exactly.
Show them that you can
Trying to
expand,
hang.
right? Show them that you can take it in another direction and still continue your art, man.
Mm-hmm.
TJ, I'm not killing my 50-year-old artist, brother. I'm
Yeah,
right.
bro. I hear you. I hear you.
So,
Yeah.
my brothers, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you, brother.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me, and we'll all talk soon, bro.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
Peace.
Right on, man. Straight ahead. All right.
Peace, brother.
Good stuff. Loaded show. Loaded show.
So, were you able to get in touch with the sister?
My man got sick. Yeah, my man Carey got sick because I don't think he made the connects that I needed to make. Me and Gwen Carr, we just missed each other.
Okay.
And I didn't have her email to send her the link directly.
Right.
But not just, and then by way of mentioning, I mean, this is a loaded, police brutality is always a loaded question here. Gwen Carr is the mother of Eric Garner. And next Saturday, she hosts her annual gala for families who survived police violence. And it's a big deal,
Yeah.
Gwen goes out. She's been a force for Black mothers around the country. And she's been through a lot. She didn't just lose her son. She lost her son's daughter, Erica Garner, right? That trauma ripped through that child's life. And, Erica was still in her 20s when she went out from a cardiac incident, right? She lost her husband, right? And it's just kept right on trucking. An incredible lady of grace. So I'm hoping we can get her on at some point. And Brother Carey, those who remember James Carey, Elizabeth, New Jersey, right? Long time with People's Organization for Progress, does work for NAN, National Action Network, right? He's been out here for a good minute himself since the 90s. Brother Carey's been out here since the 90s. He's no stranger. He's done a lot of security for Sister Gwen when she's definitely needed it. He's being awarded and acknowledged at that gala next week. So I just wanted to send both of them some love. And I'm trying to do what I can to get out there. I'll have the flyer posted. We'll share that the flyer and post that up, so folks can if you want to come, you get your ticket and come on. It's a really big deal. She really goes out to, in a very Black, classy way, really help Black families reclaim their dignity after having faced the harm of losing their loved ones at the hand of police. You see the parade of mothers that they do. It's really powerful stuff.
And where's this taking place at, Zane?
It's at a location in Staten Island. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's at a, because Eric was Staten Island based. They have their office of their foundation in Staten Island, so they're doing the fundraiser in Staten Island. Last year it was in the Rockdale Village. It was in the village where Herman Ferguson put in a whole lot of work many years ago, quite frankly. And they have a big gala, ballroom. But it's a powerful gathering. It's a powerful gathering, and it's a safe, healing, embracing space again for mothers of survivors of police violence. Right. So I regret that we couldn't get them on. But we're gonna keep trying. We're gonna keep trying. Very proud of Sister Gwen Carr. Very proud of that sister.
Yeah, for sure, man. That would have definitely been, a real important segment, to talk to them sisters. So we definitely gonna look to try to, get that back, man, so we could lift them up.
Yeah.
In terms of sharing that. But Zaid, I know you was off last week, man. And one of the conversations that I didn't start the conversation. Actually, the conversation was actually started by Dashawn. He's having these discussions with Black men around the country. And, and of course, the mayor's stance, that why would any brother want to vote against his own interests and vote for Donald Trump? But they
exist.
Yeah. So I was on the PAP train last week. I was on my way to Newark and coming out of Jersey City. And so, these brothers was having somewhat of an argument. It didn't get real crazy, but it was heated, and in the midst of the argument, the brother said, okay, so why don't we just do a poll? Why don't we just ask the brothers on this train if they're going to vote for Kamala or if they're going to vote for Trump? And it was about 12 brothers, and 9 of them said that they were going to vote for Trump, and 3 said they were going to vote for Kamala. Just a random poll, right? Complete idiots, man. Mm-hmm. And so the brother who was having the argument, what he was pointing out is that, and what I kept thinking about was Dr. Carr. Remember, one of the things Dr. Carr says all the time, Zaid, he says, we have low information, right?
Yeah, you talk about, and what everybody recognizes, you talking about Professor Greg Carr at Howard University. Yeah.
And so, and what I heard is that, and so that's what was being alluded to tonight when someone said that Roland Martin had to go and correct Jermaine Dupri, right? Because they have low information. The problem is that they're speaking and people are listening to them.
Yeah.
And so that random poll that was being had on the train, them brothers, those particular brothers that was hearing that, right? I don't know what their level of information was, but I know that their participation in the conversation was based on not what they researched. I get this. It was based on what they heard.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So when TJ talks about we got to get back to reading, well, he's right. Right. We've got to get back to doing some research, and we've got to get back to doing some reading so that we know what the facts are. So brothers would say, "Oh man, here's what I heard about Kamala. I heard, and of course Dashawn was, he was posting some stuff up, and I saw some of this stuff on TikTok and all of that as well, where folks was running around and now they quoting Donald Trump. Oh yeah, man, she just started going around saying she's black. All before that she was running around talking about she was Indian. And now all of a sudden, because she want the black vote and she want black, and I'm like, my brother, let's talk about your interests, man. What
where are they getting that from?
Right.
Or where they're getting that from? They're getting that bullshit from Fox 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they're getting that shit from the most backwards mainstream media arm that's out here. But because it's a mainstream media arm and Trump has been a celebrity, they're gullible to that bullshit. And it's bullshit. And it's unfortunate that some of our brothers are walking down that line.
Right. And Bashir had a similar argument on the bus coming down.
He talks about it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, on the 24th. He had the similar argument, right? With some brothers on the bus.
Got it, bus. I know how that went.
Yeah. So but here's my problem, though, Zaid. Here's my problem. So and I don't know if you heard me say this, but you're gonna hear me say it even more when the mayor come on. My problem is that they don't have the right surrogates, man. Right? And you've got to have the right surrogates who are talking to the brothers who are not reading.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. To be able to talk to them. And I was having this conversation with Minnie about it as well.
Yeah.
Because everybody is not going to listen to Reverend Sharpton. Right? A lot of people, I'm just telling you. So if you got these particular people as your surrogate, and you think those brothers on the 24 bus, or those brothers coming out of Jersey City going into Newark, or from Newark going to New York, you think they're gonna listen to that? No, they're gonna listen to all them other guys who got low information, unless you get the right surrogate, like a Mayor Baraka, who and forget the fact he's a mayor. But I'm talking about somebody who can talk that talk, Zaid, like you, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody who can talk to them in such a way that it shakes the very consciousness of these young brothers.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm saying young, Zaid, but these brothers were probably in their 40s, right? Mm-hmm. Probably in their late 30s, right? So they were grown men.
And some of them our age.
Yeah. And you listening to that, and I'm saying, wow, brother, you would vote against your own interests? No, man, you don't understand, man. I'm saying, she locking brothers up. Trump trying to get us out of jail, brother. He pardoning brothers, man. She ain't doing that. I'm like, wow, brother. I'm like, where's this level of confusion coming from? And what Mitty said to me was, he said what they like is, and he was saying they like that bravado that Trump puts forward, right? Like he could have all these felonies and still walk around like he can't be touched.
Yeah, like he's a Teflon Don.
Yeah, he's Teflon Don. And so Mitty was saying that's what them brothers like. So that's why you could have Flock of Flames, right? Put out a press release and say all the reasons he's voting for Trump, right? And you say, wow. And here's the thing, Zaid. That dude has more than enough followers to get Trump to that 6,000 votes that he needs in Georgia.
Right.
I mean, and so that's why I was hearing Tamika say that their plan is
to got a book out too. By the way, we got to get her back
coming out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying, she gonna work the hell out of Georgia because she know that the influence that some of these people have and the misinformation. That's why Roland Martin had to correct Jermaine Dupri because he was putting out incorrect information.
That's right. And I'm glad he allowed himself to be corrected.
Yeah, exactly.
They get their heads so big because they have because they're social media influencers. That's what they call it today.
That's right.
They don't have the humility to learn.
Right. But Zaid, that's why I'm saying, man. I think we have got to find a way, and maybe these conversations need to be had privately, right, with some of these brothers. But we need to find a way to have some conversations that are really just straight up uncut, man. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
the other thing too is that we can take a page from what the sisters just did, right? And what did the sisters just do, right? From out the gate, black. Say what you want about Kamala, and I definitely have. I'm firm in my criticisms of her, right? I ain't backing up off of that, right?
Right.
And if she loses, it's because of that. They want to turn a blind eye to genocide, and that's just messed up, right? And I'm not going to forgive that. But what sisters have done, they didn't wait for anybody. They across the spectrum, they just made calls, got themselves together, and raised a slew of money.
That's right.
Across the spectrum for that sister from right out the gate. As soon as Harris's name was put on the table to take over for Biden, they just went and did that, right? Why couldn't we have a sea of black men do the same thing?
Now we did do that though, but we didn't do it first.
What I'm saying is do it in a way that cuts across the spectrum, that has folks who are well known and folks who just from the heart of our hoods, right? That gets our people's attention and shows our people not just that we need to move this way in this particular moment, but we also need to move this way with some resources, right? That's something that was exemplary that them sisters did, in my modest way, right?
Right.
And it's something that we as a community we need to become more mature, more strategic about.
Well, I just want to say in the brothers' defense, they did have black men for Kamala, just like they had black women for Kamala. They did have that. They had a number of groups, that came out and raised. I mean, because she raised, I forget what the last number was when I counted, but she's probably raised almost $1 billion by now.
It was a lot of money.
So, and I'm saying that happened fairly quickly at the moment that that Biden had dropped out.
Yeah, it happened very quickly. Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
All I'm saying, Zaid, is that two things. One is that we've got to vote our interest. The other thing is that I think we also got to pay attention to the down ballot, right? Because if we're not paying attention to the down ballot, it's not going to make much of a difference if she get elected if she can't get nothing passed.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to get Crystal and Britnee. I'm trying to get Britney and Karen to really lean in on, right?
Yeah.
That's why I wanted Karen on, because Karen is involved in one of those important down ballot races with Sister Also Brooks running for Senate in Maryland. That's real. That's a pivotal one right there, right? And it merits a whole lot of support. And it's going to be tough because Hogan is the former governor. He's a chameleon in a way that he's not the way that Trump isn't, right? He's probably bought off his share of Negroes, to be governor twice. The way Christie brought off his share of Negroes, he's going to be something to deal with,
right?
So that's an important space to watch. And then of course, she also raised how critical a battleground Georgia is going to be again.
Yes.
And then there's also this thing that needs to be appreciated is that we're starting to see ballot repression pop up, right? Like the Texas Attorney General is attacking the Latino vote in Texas, right? Raiding organizations, offices, and really trying to criminalize the presence of the Latino vote because it's such a pivotal role in securing which way Texas is going to go. So all of that, we got souls to the polls along with our armed formations, right? There's been an explosion. Y'all, I want y'all to hear me good, goddammit. There's been an explosion of African American in gun clubs, black men and women concerned about being trained to protect themselves. They need to also be trained to protect our people when they go to the polls, straight up, without apology, right? Straight up. We need to develop that kind of capacity to protect our right to vote. The right to vote was not won by nonviolence alone. We'll be real clear about that. The Black Panther Party started in the South, Lowndes County, Alabama, armed formation that broke away from the Dixiecrat Democratic Party as it was in Alabama back in the mid 1960s under the great Kwame Ture.
Yeah.
Right? We need to lift all that up in this particular historic moment.
Yeah. But that's absolutely true though, Zaid. I think we Donald Trump is
that's how I want black men to talk.
Yeah.
Me over like this Hollywood, thug, strong arming women and being a bully and whatnot, and gets all this access to TV. Roll like the Deacons of Defense rolled to protect the Mississippi and Louisiana. Roll like the Black Panther Party roll. If you want to be men about this at this particular moment, that's what we need men to do.
Yeah. But I, before we throw it over to Rhino, I agree, man. Listen, man, we need to be having that conversation, but we better not end up being sitting ducks, because if Donald Trump doesn't win, he's already given instructions, man. Right? And these people are laying and waiting. You think we saw something with that white terrorist going up in Buffalo in that supermarket in the black community? Brother, it's gonna be massive, brother.
Will be more. Yeah.
Yes.
We need to understand it. That could definitely be that's right.
And we need to be awake to that, right? And be conscious of that, and don't be acting like these are good white folk. They're gonna be able to accept losing. Oh, hell no.
And of course, we can always call the police.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah. And remember, some of them guys are police officers, man.
That's right.
Right?
Thoroughly
we got to worry about them. Just start killing black folks, man. Because it become a matter of them trying to scare black folks who are voting. I mean, listen, that's why I said, man, there's some real conversations we need to be having, because the other side is having those conversations.
All a bullet. It'll be liberty, it'll be death, it'll be freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody.
There it is.
Looms large as it ever has since back in 1964.
Rhino
has come.
What's good? What's going on, fellas?
Everything good, brother.
What's good? But it's been a minute. I didn't get a chance to say I missed y'all, man. I was in Cuba. Had to do my thing in Cuba for a minute, but I needed that battery recharge, and it was powerful, So I actually missed 2 shows. I don't think I've ever missed 2 shows in a row since I joined y'all.
Yeah. I missed.
I got to go back and look. I didn't get a chance to even look at it.
Yeah, same here. I missed a couple of shows myself. I know I missed the last one because it was me and the wife's anniversary weekend.
Yeah, that's important. You got to do that.
So I still gotta watch that.
Hey, Rhino, we had someone on. We just had TJ Whitaker on, and he was telling us about this new RZA joint, that just dropped, and Principal Capele was telling us about a new joint that was just dropped by LL Cool J as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
you said it's a new song by RZA.
Yes, it's a new joint where he's actually doing something with a full orchestra, man. You know what I mean?
I do think I heard about it, but I haven't heard it. Yeah, I heard about it, but I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah.
Now the LL album, I've been listening to that since it dropped. It dropped last night, midnight. Dropped at 12 midnight. Yeah. I've been listening to that. Yeah, it's pretty good, man. He's got a lot of good joints on there. It's solely produced by Q-Tip, a Tribe Called Quest, but it's a good combination. It's good to hear LL and Q-Tip together doing something, because you don't normally think of that combination. You know what I mean? Exactly. But it's all Queens. Both of them from Queens. They represent Queens. But yeah, no, it's a good album. They got some solid joints on there, and I think the album should do well for LL, man. He sounds good. He sounds fresh, like he's upgraded his flow a little bit. You know what I mean? And he's getting busy. You know, Q-Tip always keeps it funky and jazzy. So
Oh yeah. He's Q-Tip is pretty eclectic, man. I remember when he was doing some work with Janet Jackson, and folks were shocked by that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, man. I mean, Q-Tip has definitely been consistent, man. You know.
Yeah, I remember when he was doing stuff with D'Angelo and Raphael Sadiq also.
Yo, that's deep,
Doing
man.
a lot of music, you know, real music stuff and playing instruments and things like that. Yeah, Q-Tip is into it. So yeah. So the album is good. The name of the album is The Force. So definitely check that out. It dropped at midnight early this morning. So yeah, definitely go check that out. Nas is on there, Fat Joe, Rick Ross, Busta Rhymes. I know I'm missing a couple of people, but it's a nice solid album. It's a good one. It's a good.
And what label is he on now?
I'm not sure. I gotta actually look that up. I'm not sure. Because he was the king of Def Jam for a while, but
yeah,
I don't know if that's. I'm not sure if that's what he's on right now.
Because I know, you know, when Russell sold the label, I don't know if he followed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but you know, but remember the thing is now is these cats can put out their own music.
Exactly.
You know? So they don't really need a label. You know, I mean, as long as you got a following, you know, you can release your own music.
That's it.
And that was the thing I think Prince was trying to get to, right? You know, he was trying to get to that, to get folks, you know, to get into just, you know, you don't need a label. You making the music, you can release your own music.
Tupac was stockpiling like that too.
Who's that?
Tupac. He was stockpiling stuff like that for that same purpose. He's ready for that contract to end with the brother, and he was ready to move.
Yeah.
But it does say it says Def Jam Version Music Group. So it's a combination of Def Jam and Version Music Group.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's still Def Jam. He was the baby and the king of Def Jam. So
yeah. What was he the second artist signed after Run DMC?
Nah, Run DMC was never signed to Def Jam. Run DMC was on Profile.
Wow.
Yeah,
I always thought that they were on Def Jam because of Russell.
Yeah, right? everybody thought that.
Yeah.
But no, they were never on Def Jam. They were on Profile.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, you know, Rhino, back in the day when I was coming through, and that's probably true for you too, right? When I was coming through, remember, we used to go and literally look at the labels, man. Remember that?
Yeah. We used to read the labels, read the back of the cover, all of that stuff.
Yeah. You know,
that was the whole experience of having a record, of having an album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you look at the cover because, especially, I remember growing up back in the 70s, man. The covers in the 70s, man, were wild.
Yeah.
The artwork was wild. It was like psychedelic almost. You know what I mean? You had to like, you know,
landscape. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, you would study that artwork, man, and you
would
go
wild.
Outfit,
all of that. That's right.
Yeah, your imagination would go wild, and then you know, as you got older, you started getting into what was written, what was typed on those albums. You know, learning who the musicians were, what studios they recorded in, you know, who mastered and mixed it, and all of that, the record labels, all of that, you know, producers. That's how we became record nerds, man.
That's right, man. Yeah, I mean, and you know, see the thing. Well, you know, the thing is, you know, these kids are lazy today, man. We used to go and hang out in Tower Records, man, right?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, like we used to go hang out in bookstores, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd be able to go, you know, in the village, man, you know, and hang out in Tower Records and listen to music, read album covers, you know. I mean, and you'd actually make notes, man. You know what I mean? And that's how you knew who the A&R directors were, right? You'd be able to call them cats, try to get an appointment, right? Try to get your music heard. You know, like LL Cool J said, man, he said, somebody asked him, he was saying something about how much money Rick Ross is making. He said, hell, he said, I don't know how they're making that money because I never made that kind of money. You know, he said, I don't know how streams work. What are they talking about? You know, like where's that money coming from? You know?
Yeah, it don't make no sense. To me, it sounds like robbery because they're talking about, you know, a certain 1,000 amount of streams or 1 million amount of streams for a penny and all of that. Like, you know, to me, it just sounds like robbery, man.
Yeah. That's why somebody called that dude from Club Shay Shay, they called him a liar because the dude was saying, no, man. He said, I know how this thing works. That dude ain't make that much money. You know, he was talking about how much money he made off of what was the little brother that was on there cussing everybody out? The comedian.
Oh, Cat Williams.
Yeah, Cat Williams. So he claimed that he chopped up Cat Williams, you know, and these all those small segments and everything. And he said that people were streaming it like crazy. And he said he made like $5 million from Cat Williams. And somebody did the math. They said, wait a minute, how many streams he said he had? They did the math. They said, do they make no $5 million off Cat Williams? You know what I mean?
You would have to be getting $1 off of every stream.
Right.
You know, that's nonsense. That's a lie. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say these kids are lazy. We don't even have a Tower Records anymore. We don't have Tower Records and stuff like that where kids could pick up a CD or an album or even a cassette, you know, and look at it. You know, they don't have that anymore. So you just downloading stuff online. It's just a click. So you don't get to see you don't get to see an album cover or none of that. You just getting the songs.
Right. Yeah. So where's the creativity? Right?
Yeah, there's no imagination.
Right. You know, I mean, do we even have graffiti artists anymore? Right?
I mean, there's plenty of graffiti artists, but it's where they're being placed and where they're being used in society now. You know what I mean?
Because I'm saying, though,
back in the day, a lot of graffiti artists went into advertising agencies. They were working for advertising agencies. That's why we saw the changes in the buses and the cabs, the way they looked because of graffiti artists.
Right. But, you know, I say this, you know, I don't really want to knock them young cats because I'm older now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, Rhino. I got mad respect for when we coming through because the hustle was real, right?
Yeah, we had to work for ours.
Hustle was real, yeah. You know what I mean? When cats was out there shopping deals, trying to get their books published, that hustle was real. You know,
you had to be out there.
Yeah, you was trying to get your music
face to face.
Yeah,
you had to be in the streets,
and everybody was competitive. You know, you think about all those labels. You know, like Flavor Unit. You know, Bad Boy, Tommy Boy. Right? You think about all those labels that were out and all those artists that were being signed at that point. Right? Mm-hmm. We don't have that kind of creativity and people chasing that bag like that. You know?
Nah. I mean, they're still chasing the bag, but it's not like that though.
No, because I'm saying
everybody wants a bag just from clicks. They just want those easy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The clicks.
They want to become millionaires off of quick clicks. You know.
Yeah, because I was thinking about Kim and I hung out with Councilman Kelly, and I was thinking about the story he was telling about how, he was trying to make his first record, you know what I mean? Lords of the Underground, you know what I mean? And, how you had to raise the money to go to the studio, right? Yeah. I mean, that's real talk.
I have early recordings of me and Do It All, stuff that he did at my little lab at the
See what I'm saying?
Even before Lords of Underground,
Right.
And I'm saying, man, everybody got humble beginnings, man. Right. You know what I'm saying? We got some humble beginnings, man.
Right. I mean, everybody was. That's why when
El said the conversation about partnering and putting that out, that could be a powerful look back.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. At some point, man, I think we got to talk to them guys, man, and just talk about because I'll be honest with you, man. I enjoy hearing those stories about how real that was, you chasing. I mean, how often you go to New York late at night, wait outside studios and trying to run into A&R directors or listening to because I remember when I met Jodeci, man. I remember them dudes telling me how they got their deal, how they hung out downstairs in Uptown Records, man. And stayed down in the in the lobby because they couldn't get upstairs to Uptown. And then when Heavy D came downstairs, they sang one of them hit records that he heard, and he took them upstairs and Andre signed it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. That's the industry. That's real talk.
Yeah, man.
Where's that at now, Rhino?
Yeah. The ones right now, it's all of us trying to hold it down, trying to keep it alive right now, man. I gotta say that too, man. This for me personally, man. I gotta say it's been a big summer, just like last year. Last year was a big summer because it was the 50th of hip hop. But this summer it's been big. Back in June or July, I was able to open up for Smith & Wesson at the Newark Riverfront. August 17th, I was able to open up for Rod Digger, Young Z, Shabam Sadiq, Cellar Dwellers, a lot of classic artists, man, that came out there. Mad Squabbles was out there. He's on the new LL album as well. And then just recently, all right, what was that? What was after that? Did August 1st, did KRS-One at NJ Pack. You know what I'm saying? We did that. Just recently opened up for Funkmaster Flex and MOP and Mobb Deep and all of them. So it's been a big summer, man. I just want to shout out all the artists, man, all of those artists. I want to shout out my cousin Isis, who hooked it up for me to do the Funkmaster Flex joint. Shout her out. But yeah, man, it's been a huge summer for hip hop, man. And these are we're talking original artists. We're talking about Smith & Wesson. We're talking about KRS. We're talking about MOP and Mobb Deep, and these are classic artists from the 90s, 80s, and 90s. You know what I'm saying? And we're the ones keeping it alive, man. They're the ones keeping it alive. LL Cool J's got a new album out now. MC Light's got a new album out. She's touring all over the place. She's hitting studios and doing a lot of video clips and all kinds of stuff, man. And it's really good to see MC Light back in her element again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like
it. Long time. It's been a long time. So yeah, man, hip hop is looking good right now, man. I want to say happy born to MC Shan. Today's his born day. That's the original king of the bridge. It was MC Shan and Marley Marl that got together and put out the bridge. That ended up being the theme for the neighborhood for Queensbridge and the Queensbridge projects in New York City. So definitely I want to say big salute and happy born to MC Shan, the original king of the bridge. Also happy born to Dana Dane. Happy born to Nori. Happy born to Foxy Brown. And happy born to the actor Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Virgos, man. We in Virgo season. So I had to say happy born to those Virgos in hip hop and in entertainment. And tomorrow's my born day, so I'm going to be returning the Shake Up tomorrow at 3 p.m. Tomorrow is going to be the return of the Shake Up because I've been off the whole summer.
Well, happy birthday.
It's the 18th. We got another Virgo. My Keisha's the 18th.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, so it's Virgo season, man. We doing it up.
Okay, she might want to do a party.
Yesterday was Mantronic's birthday. I got to shout out Curtis Mantronic as well.
Mm-hmm. And Rhino, before we go, there was a rapper, a hip hop artist just died, right?
Yeah, man. I got to get more info on what happened, man, to Rich Homie Quan. We lost him. That was a surprise, man.
I heard he was like 30-something years old.
Scrolling through, and I saw some stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold up, Rich Homie Quan is gone? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I got it.
And then, since we bringing it up, man, we got to definitely say rest in peace to Fat Man Scoop. We lost Fat Man Scoop, man. Who was the party starter. I mean, everybody knows Fat Man Scoop's voice.
Absolutely.
He was the king of the parties, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And all the way up to his last breath, man, he was rocking parties, man. So rest in peace and power to Fat Man Scoop, man. That was a sad loss too, man. And Rich Homie Quan, man, you know, that's a young cat, man. I don't know what's going on losing these young rappers.
Yeah. That's been really
Kind of
bothering
crazy,
me.
man.
He was like,
I gotta get more. I gotta find out, you know, what that is. You know, what it is that took him out. I don't have any details on that, man. But definitely rest in peace and prayers to his family.
yeah.
And then she's in that age group, but she's not hip hop, right? This is the other side of the world. She's from South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Sister and Ember Gamey, she was like the second coming of she was like the return of Miriam Makeba, right? Big, powerful sister, right? That would come into all these, powerful Pan-African spaces and whatnot, and just light it up. And there was this Pan-African Congress in Panama 2 years ago and she was just a solidarity figure, and she just, all those airs of I'm the ambassador, this and that. She would just crush all of that shit.
Yeah.
She was the queen, rough sister that just went out of here. Today was the day of her services in Johannesburg. Bad sister. She was only in her 40s, She was just really just hitting her stride,
Yeah.
But I don't know what's in the air, what's in the water, whatever, but folks are sliding out of here just too goddamn young.
They are, man. Yeah. I definitely think it's something in the air, the water, the food, something like that, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, cats are just going out, brother.
Yeah.
But Rhino, any final statements? Anything you want to put out there? Let people know what's up.
Nah, that's it, man. Like I said, tomorrow come celebrate my born day. Tomorrow, twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ at 3 p.m. We're gonna do it up. I don't even know what I'm getting into tomorrow, but we're just gonna vibe out and have fun.
And Zaid, any final statements, my brother?
Tomorrow is Curb Fest. Oh man, I don't have the address because it's at a place that I haven't been to in Brooklyn. But I have another Curb Fest. The Curb Fest is block party for our political prisoners, right? And we've got TJ's going to be at that spot in South Orange. The flyers on my page for the Jersey release of I Am Maroon. And the next Saturday is Gwen Carr's gala for folks who lost loved ones at the hands of the police on the 14th. So we always got it going on a lot of fronts. So we're still gonna try and get Sister Gwen on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a lot. It's been a lot. We got to get in gear and do what we need to do to beat back the great walk backwards that Mumia used to talk about.
And before we get off, I just want to acknowledge what Kapele said. He said, but we were talking about the hustle, right? He said, but keep in mind that this is what has been presented to them, talking about young people. They don't know the hustle of the old days. That doesn't exist anymore. The internet changed the game. That's true. I agree with that. Right. And it just seemed like they don't really know the all those old artists you talked about, right? They don't really know how they really got in the game. And I think that level of I'm not knocking their hustle and I don't disrespect them, right? But I'm just saying it just doesn't seem, so when a guy says something negative about LL, I just don't think they understand the hustle that brother put in, right?
But that's why for our generation, man, we got to show and prove. It's up to our generation to show and prove. And I feel like that's what these that's what our artists are doing. Our generation is doing. They're showing and proving. Let's put this music out. Let's show them how this. Like when Jadakiss took over the verses when he did up against Dipset, he showed right there for you. He showed how he told you right there. Now we're not rhyming over our vocals. We're not doing none of that. You know what I'm saying? It was like we got to show and prove. You got to show them how it's done because we can't tell them because they're not listening. You got to show them. because they're not listening if you're just talking to them. They're not listening to the talk. You gotta show and prove. It's all about show and prove. So I feel like that's our job and our responsibility right now to these young heads is to just show and prove. Show them what it is. We know what it is because we've been doing it, but we got to keep doing it now for them to see it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly right, brother Philly. That's how all them old artists used to sell tapes out of the trunk, man. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm just saying, I respect the hustle. Period. Right? I'm not going to disrespect young people, but I'm also not going to let them disrespect people like Kafele. I'm not going to let them disrespect LL Cool J. I'm not going to do that, right? But you know, because I've heard some negative stuff from them young dudes, right, saying that, but they didn't, you know, they ain't never beat the pavement like that.
Right?
They ain't never sold their records on no corner. They ain't never sell their books going.
They never battled nobody.
They ain't do that, you know.
Yeah.
So I respect them old dudes, man, right? And you know, when I heard them young dudes saying that about them dudes, I'm like, yo, man, that, you know, because they were dissing L. And I just said, yo, man, that ain't even right. You know what I mean? Y'all don't even know his hustle, man. You know what I mean? Well, y'all, because they were talking about, you know, he has a microphone going around his arm. You know what I mean? And they were trying to diss his mic, man. You know? You know, and I'm like, yo, y'all don't understand the hustle. That dude really was doing battle rhyming with people. Y'all, do y'all understand that's real?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And they like, you know, why he got a mic wrapped around his arm? That old dude, what's up with that? He ain't making, you know, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, come on, man. Go back and check his catalog before y'all start all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go check his catalog, man.
Yeah, 1984.
You know? Yeah. So, hey, listen, man.
And it's 2024 today.
Yeah. So. Hey, Rhino, we're going to have to do a show about this, man. We're going to have to do a show about respecting them old dudes, man. You know what I mean?
You got to respect the OGs.
Make sure they hustle get respected, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, thank you all for doing the show tonight. Zayed, you want to say thanks to all of the guests? So
man, powerful show. Senator Britnee Timberlake, good to have daughter back on. Proud to have Karen Darks, the Executive Director of the Maryland Democratic Party, on the cutting edge of what's happening on the electoral front in the state of Maryland, right? TJ Whitaker, of course, coming in and killing it in the tradition of the Panther Cubs, trying to uphold our tradition, right? And it was a good night. It was a good night all around. Of course, the great Eric Payne sitting in with for us.
So we thank them, and of course, we thank DJ Rhino for coming through and doing, you know, his segment, of course. And Zayed, thank you, my brother. You know what I mean?
Happy birthday, beloved. Enjoy it tomorrow. Turn it all the way up at 3 o'clock. Turn it all the way up.
Yep. And good luck to John Austin out there with them students, and to our emeritus other co-host, Bashir Hotep, wherever you at, brother, in the world. All right. Until we see y'all next week, as my brother Zayed like to say, we'll catch you where, Zayed?
We'll see you in the whirlwind.
Catch y'all in the whirlwind. All politics are local.
America's number one. Talk radio show. We don't stop.